All right, it's 9 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this hearing to order. Good morning, everybody. Long time no see. Appreciate everybody being here this morning after, it wasn't too late of a night, but really want to thank Boyce and Kitchen in addition to doing the budget retreat a week before last and then the budget amendment last night, which of course takes months of preparation and work. And then now budget hearings while preparing the budget proposal. You guys, you and the whole finance team, it's a particularly busy season, and I was thrilled to get the budget amendment approved last night. That's just some really great things there in there for, you know, for our fire department, for Montgomery Village, for parks, for Burlington, obviously the Gay Street Bridge. So it's I know it's a lot. It's a heavy lift to do budget amendments in the middle of the budget year, but I think it's good for the outcomes in our city. So thank you. Obviously, today kicks off 2 days of hearings where we get to hear from all our various departments about their budget needs, and we all know also that the needs that we hear are. You know, so far as I have experienced, always greater than the revenues available. So, but it's good to know what we need. It's also an opportunity for me to hear about some of the, you know, good things that are happening in various departments throughout the city. So, thanks for being here. Welcome, Councilmember Roberto. Glad to see you here. And yeah, you're welcome to, you know, scoot up to the table if you'd like. You know, suit yourself. And now I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed CFO, Boyce Evans.
Boyce Evans, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the city, and I've got here with me the Deputy CFO, Ms. Kitchen Smith. And really the purpose of this is for the departments and some of our partner agencies to describe what they've submitted in terms of additional funding requests for FY26, so that we understand more clearly, the mayor understands and the cabinet understand more clearly what's been requested and why and the details behind it. After this, in terms of the process, it's hard but pretty straightforward. That is to say, you know, we review all the requests and then we review our projected revenues less expenditures to see what we've got to work with, and we have to determine which ones we can fund and which ones we can't fund for the upcoming FY. And as the mayor just alluded to, there's never enough money to go around and do everything. Then we put together the proposed budget, and after that, last Friday in May, the mayor delivers the State of the City address where she hits the highlights of the proposed budget, and after that, council begins to deliberate for a little over a month there, actually, on you know, what's been proposed, and that's pretty much how it works. You have today, those of you that have a book, the agenda. I've sent it out to everybody in the world, but on the agenda, it's in the front page of the books that you have, and the only thing that changed from the original ones is you'll notice tomorrow afternoon after lunch, we've got some departments and organizations that we added in there. And if there's somebody, I'm talking to fellow cabinet members here, if you got that you think of at the last minute that, oh, they didn't submit, there was something jacked up, I don't know. We've got other organizations as needed. At 1:45 p.m. tomorrow, we could always work somebody in and listen to what it is, and we could develop what we need to after that. So, and with that, I'll be followed by the Chief Operating Officer for the city, Mr. Grant Rosenberg.
All right, we're already ahead of schedule.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it take a long time. I've seen it go short.
Yeah, it just depends. We can always do fleet before.
We could. Rachel, I did text Rachel. She's on her way. I told her we were
I called her
She's
and told her
about,
too.
about 15 minutes ahead of schedule, which is good. Grant Rosenberg, Chief Operating Officer. You know, we have several departments on the agenda today and a few other organizations tomorrow. But you know, a quick overview of operations. We're actually 537 employees. which I think is, if we were one department, or several departments, of course, we'd probably be the largest departments. We're 1/3 of the total city workforce, so.
Wow.
A lot of moving pieces, eight city departments, 4 key partner agencies we work with, and, talk about being brilliant with the basics, that's our team. And we said this at our budget retreat with council a couple weeks ago. A lot of the work we do in operations kind of goes on 24/7, 365 without a lot of fanfare, but we're kind of proud of that too. It means things are going smoothly. We
No drama
don't
means
hear
things
about
are
it.
going
We have
well.
to
Yeah.
keep the drama out. But anyway, got a great team, and in terms of our goals, it's focused on our people, our leadership. You're going to hear a lot about data analytics and investing in more software and data-driven decision-making and customer service orientation, and then, of course, addressing deferred maintenance and infrastructure planning. So, with that said, I will turn it over to our esteemed public service team and allow them to introduce themselves.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Rachel Butzler, and I am the director of the Public Service Department. I'm about 6 months into this role, and I have learned a lot. But I'm very thankful that I've been with the city for 13 and a half years. About 10 of that has been with public service. We have a great leadership team in public service, and this is Chris Webster. He's our deputy director. If you would share a little bit about your time with the city.
Well, I've been here for almost 22 years. Started just a little bit after Brace. Been in this role for 6 months. Took Rachel's position. Started out as a laborer. Worked my way up. Come in with my CDLs, and just showed up every day and worked and got moved into this position. Been a great, rewarding career here at the city, and got to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, and look forward to doing more things, more tasks.
And Sherry Bennett, I believe I got this right, 31 years with the city. So we are happy to have Sherry with us too.
Thank you.
So,
Good to see you, Sharon. All right.
Okay.
Glad to see you all.
so basically, I guess I just want to talk about our goals for this coming year and a few things that we have accomplished so far. So one of the main goals of public service is we want to continue with our high level of customer service, and that's both for our internal and our external customers. So we do a lot for police, fire, Parks and Rec. We work a lot with engineering, and then obviously the external customers in the community. We take care of them, we think, really well, and we're very responsive to their requests and questions. In addition to this continued goal of customer service, we're also seeking to improve efficiency in our delivery services. And this is primarily through advancements in technology, but it's also managing our workflow, our staff, and also our communications internally. I feel like a broken record when I talk about this, so we've been struggling with staff shortages for the past 5 years, but we're finally very confidently seeing the end of the tunnel at the end of the light with that one. Yeah, I know. we mentioned we did the direct hire event on January 22nd, and that was this amazing collaborative opportunity with HR, civil service communications, the center, and public service staff was there all day. It was a huge success. We had 36 interviews scheduled ahead of time, and we had over 90 walk-ins.
Wow.
And the amount of promoting the event, I think, was huge. So we were able to interview 61 of those 90 walk-ins. We couldn't handle the volume that we had. We made 25 conditional job offers that day, and we have a list of highly qualified candidates that we expect to be pulling from, for hopefully for some time. And people ask why it was so successful, and I think just that we have a competitive pay. We did significant outreach and advertising, and if you were able to see any of the videos that we made, it really highlighted our staff, and I think it made us more appealing or understandable to the public. So I think that was really great. And then with a no barrier application process, so people were able to show up that day and just do everything on site. And so that was a huge learning experience. It was a huge success, and we're open to doing it again if we ever have to in the future. But I hope we never have that many vacancies that we have to do something like that.
So where are you on vacancies right now?
Oh, I think we're around 25. I didn't look that number up, but it's around 25. And normally we hover around 10 just because of all the internal movement. But so we still have some ways to go, but a lot of that we want to see promotion and then filling in from at the entry level. So we need to get people moving up before we start,
So you could pull people from this pool of candidates, but you want to do the promotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have quite a few people that are getting their CDLs and ready to promote. So
Just a few months ago, we were at 48,
49, I think.
49,
Yeah.
so we
Okay.
cut it in half.
Yeah.
Cut it in half in
another
a month.
It's
Yeah,
pretty-
it was a big difference, and I just feel the incoming crew, they seem a lot more competitive than the people that we've been seeing 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't know if it's changing the economy or the pay, or just we reached a different crowd than we were able to reach before. So it seems like good crew
Maybe all
coming.
three.
Yeah, I think it is a combination.
Well, I really like the strategy of, having people have a career path, like Chris and you are both examples, like, if we can promote and then hire entry level, that makes a lot of sense, because we want people to have that career path, so good strategy.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
very
that
encouraging.
Having an HR department that, is working hand in hand with civil service has made a huge difference.
Yeah.
'Cause those are the first times we've ever done those one-day hiring events in the history of the city. So I think that also, some of the behind the scenes, people don't see publicly, but that makes a big difference systematically, be able to even do those events.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think they were able to start, most of them started a week and a half after the event, whereas normally the hiring timeline is 4 to 6 weeks. So that was also a huge benefit, was we didn't lose people in that waiting process. So
That's great.
yeah, it was great. Some of the big projects we have going on. So spring is always an exciting time in our department. Everything's starting to green up around the city, which is nice. It's a lot of hope. But so we're sprucing up all the beds and parks over the city. Brush season just started this week. Mowing season is starting in 2 weeks. We're wrapping up pothole season, which is always good. And we're
Don't
moving.
look at T-Dot.
Yeah, yeah. I said we, not T-Dot.
Yeah.
People, I-40 needs some work, but that's not our job.
Yeah. And our crew actually just met with WBIR about the pothole process, so I think there's going to be a nice news story next Tuesday morning, they said. So, let's see. Yeah, and we're going into busy season with special event prep. It's super busy, and things like the marathon as well. The downtown compactor overhaul, that project is moving along. I believe, Tad, I think we've identified a site that we're moving forward with.
Yeah, we're working out a lease agreement through law right now, and then hopefully the next 6 weeks there'll be one on Jackson.
So we're looking forward to that.
But ultimately, we plan to have like 10 or
Probably
So-
12 to 14.
14. So, well,
The
we'll start.
first one's been the toughest, I think, but after that.
Let's hope.
You gotta have a trendsetter.
Trendsetter, okay.
So the ultimate goal of that is to get rid of the 900 toters that we see just around the city and have more centralized locations, so it just looks cleaner and hopefully will be cleaner as well. So the urban forestry master plan, that's also moving forward. So this year, Public Service got 350 trees in the ground and 700 trees through the cooperation with Trees Knoxville. So that basically doubles the amount of
Wow.
trees that we get on the ground. Yeah. Which leads to one of my first requests. Is that the first one? It's the second one. So we basically doubled the amount of trees that went in the ground this year. In the first 2 years of trees going in, they have more maintenance needs than the mature trees, so they get water and more kind of extensive care and everything. So we're just requesting additional contract dollars to help with the new trees that are going in, and then also to be more proactive with some of the tree pruning and the tree maintenance around the city. So that was our second request. Our first request, so when we look to the future, one of the things we want to do in our department is have a more robust and active safety and training program. So we have 304 employees. With a lot of new folks coming in, training is more important than ever. And then even with, I'm assuming people throw out institutional knowledge all the time. So we're losing some really, through retirement, we're losing some people who have been here for years. So we just want to make sure that we have a great training program. And it just varies. So some of the very technical trainings, we have 6 certified arborists, and they're required to get CEUs to
What's a
maintain
CEU?
continuing education. I believe it's unit.
What's an SME?
Yeah. Subject matter expert.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do a lot internally. We'll do chainsaw training, mower training, kind of the more basic stuff, but there's highly technical stuff like trench safety, fall protection, things like we'd rather have, more people who are out there doing that every single day coming in and training us on the best management practices in that field. And then several, for Mackenzie in Waste and Resources. It's really beneficial for her to go to conferences where she can learn about new trends and just kind of ideas that can be implemented more into our programs. And same with our crews if we go to the snow conference or American Public Works Association. So there's just some of these nationwide professional meetings where we want to learn what other people are doing. So we talk to Chattanooga and Johnson City all the time, but this is an opportunity to learn, Michigan, I'm sure they get tons of snow. Kind of what do they do? Is there anything they can do? Or even, people more lateral to us across the country. So just learning from other people about what works for them and what we could try to implement into our program. Let's see. So those were the first two requests. Those were supplemental requests to what we already have. And then
So the training would be for internal people to just have the time to train, or like hire outside people, or attend conferences?
it would be all
It's a
of
wide
the, all of
variety.
the
Okay.
above, yeah.
Okay.
I think it depends on the topic. I mean, you
Yeah.
bring people in for confined space and PPE. I mean, you bring people in, sometimes you do it in-house, sometimes you do conferences, right?
Yeah.
For a new request is for ball field maintenance. So last year we took over ball field maintenance from Parks and Rec, and they gave us a position, and we're using temporary part-time employees to help with that. But we are just requesting funding to come over with that, and that's to support, the fertilizer, all the purchases that we need to run the ball fields. So that's just basically requesting that the money that Parks and Rec had used to be transferred over to us. And then kind of similarly, the Safety City buildings, that went from Police Department to Parks and Rec, but we're responsible for the maintenance of Safety City. And I'm assuming everybody's been there. They have 30 different buildings out there, and each building has a roof, and they use them as storage. So it's just things like maintaining the roofs, maintaining the windows, because they use those buildings. And then we have to work on the electric, and we're doing grounds maintenance over there as well. So again, just the money that KPD had used to maintain Safety City, we're requesting that to be transferred over to our budget.
Okay. I'm really glad that we made that change. That's just more in your wheelhouse to do fields and buildings. KPD's not a building maintenance organization.
Well,
You guys
talking
do
to-
all kinds of fields. So.
And talking to Parks and Rec too, they're really going to up the programming at Safety City, which I think is really exciting to hear about all the ideas that they have. But again, we have to make sure it looks nice and it's safe for everybody to be there. But I'm excited to see what they can do with that complex.
Okay, so these both should be revenue neutral in theory, if it's transferring from KPD and Parks and Rec. Okay. Well, that sounds great. Thanks for thanks for all the hard work you and the entire department do. Obviously, I told you, I think at the capital budget request, how much positive feedback we got back on the recent snow response. So good, keep up the good work on that. Are you all? I know that there'd been a little discussion on updates to how we do like brush and leaf pickup, like more do it on demand instead of people just trolling,
Traveling.
traveling. Trolling sounds so bad these days, but so that's something you guys are still working on.
Yeah, I actually didn't touch on it. So when I talk about improving efficiency, two of the things that we're looking at right now, we call it route optimization. So it's using routing software to give us the smartest path through the city, and it would rely on a call-in brush collection system. And we actually, some people might perceive that as a drop-in service, but we actually feel like it's increasing the level of service because it's almost like on demand. Like you call, if you have something coming up that you want to prepare for, like you can call us and we can make sure we get out there, we'd have to look into it.
Because otherwise it's every 2 weeks, and if you do it the day after the schedule.
But the important message on this is probably equal to or better service. We've got to continue running the numbers, but the most important part of this is if we do it, we communicate it well. I know members of city
On-demand
council.
pickup,
Yeah.
that's the name of it, on-demand pickup.
Members of city council, that system's been in place for 40 years, and so I think we'll do it. The comms will be really important on that one.
And the savings will be, we used to have large, heavy trucks going around neighborhoods, and maybe there's nothing to be picked up. So
Yeah, so we
that's
ran-
not a great use of anybody's time.
Yeah, so it should contribute to our sustainability goals. So hopefully with fuel reduction, less wear and tear on the equipment, and again, I mean,
More responsive.
more
More
responsive.
responsive, more efficient. I mean, seems like a big win for everybody. Because also when people do their, people want that picked up, the moment they put it out there, pretty much. So, we can't promise that, but, maybe we can say within 2 days or something. I don't know.
Brush is like a exercise in psychology, because some people put it out and don't even think about it, and other people put it out and they're like, yeah, it is.
It's magic.
It's amazing.
It's when it goes away, it goes away. I don't know.
People in my neighborhood ask when the brush, I'm like, I have no idea, I don't know. But other people are like, they know,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And just for a reminder for me and anyone else who might be wondering, like, we use that a lot of, when possible, we use that brush to turn it into mulch or something. I mean,
All recycled.
yeah, it's all recycled and reused, because some people are like, just leave it in place, that's the most useful thing. But, not everybody wants to do that, so we use it to mulch in different parks and fields, whatever, around the city. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess, so my parents live in a suburb outside of Pittsburgh, and I will say their snow response up there, I can't imagine what their salt budget is. When I was home the other weekend, the salt truck went up my parents' dead end road 4 times, and, because they were backing up so I could hear it every time, and I had to go look. I'm like, that's insane.
4 times?
Yeah, 4 times.
dead end.
Like, a dead end on a weekend. But my dad, when he comes down, he is blown away at the brush collection service and the transfer station. So, like, they have a different level of service, but he's blown away by our level of service down here. So
You're fully the public service director when that's what you talk about with your parents. Let me run you by the dump, Dad, while you're in town. That's pretty
well,
good.
they do contents of cart now, and we have
Okay,
conversations that don't always go so well with that one. But
By the way, our brush collection,
Contents of
if you look at our diversion numbers away from the landfill, a huge amount of that is brush.
Yeah.
It's not going to the landfill, and
That's good. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I wanted to say that public service is probably one of the departments that I end up having some connection with more frequently than others. But it's always a really good experience, and so I just wanted to make sure you send back a message that, we really appreciate everyone's work. That's not always the most glamorous work, because you're outside in the heat or the really cold and dealing with, chainsaws and things like that, so that's difficult. But it is, just like you said, something where we run into a lot of, hey, when is my brush pickup, when is my, leaf pickup, things like that. So I was really pleased to hear about the route optimization that you were talking about. Is that something that you're going to be using? You mentioned technology. Is that something you're going to use technology for? Because I didn't see in any of the requests anything about technology. So I was wondering if you've already got what you need in place.
that's a capital request,
Okay.
and so we want to put technology in the trucks themselves. So they'll have a screen in front of them that says turn right, pick up at this address, and then go to this address. So that's more of a capital request for that stuff. For the
Okay, so you've
technology.
got that in your capital request then. Okay, that's good to hear. And I love the idea, just like the mayor was saying about the on-demand service. I think that's a great idea. And thinking about that,
Yeah.
with what I have noticed is that residents who take care of their lawns generally understand, not all the time obviously, generally understand what they're supposed to do with the leaves and the brush and stuff when they're clearing their yards. What I've noticed is that when you have a service come and take care of it for you, they're the ones that more often are putting it in the middle of the street. I don't know if that's your experience too, but is there some effort in educating that? Because that's one of the calls that I get a bunch, where it's, hey, I can't get around this road because all this stuff, what's going on? And I don't know that the resident knows that that's going on, maybe when they come home, obviously, but is there a component of educating? I don't even know how many lawn service companies we have, but is there something we can do about that? Because it can be a real hazard in the street.
So part of this, on-demand service that we're proposing, we want to do an extensive outreach part of that. So it's going to be direct mailers to every single household. And, a lot of times people don't read the stuff that comes, but we want to make it as appealing as possible so people will read it. We'll do a ton of outreach just with that event, with that change in service itself. So that'll be one opportunity. But we also do have, we call it the tree registry program. And any company who takes down trees above a certain caliper, they're supposed to be part of this tree registry. And I don't know, have you seen the door hangers that we put out? So if we see something that looks like a contractor, whether they have a sign out or if, there's tracks in the yard that indicate that they use heavy equipment, we always leave one of those tags. And that gives us an opportunity to, usually the resident calls us back and what is this about? And then we can get the information from them who their tree contractor was, and we reach out to them and we remind them of the rules and the ordinance. And for the most part, once we reach out to them, they're mostly cooperative. And I will say the more established tree companies, they're the ones who are most cooperative because they don't want us to collect the waste, because they charge accordingly. It's the smaller companies that we have the harder time with just because they're not as big into the tree industry, so they may not be aware of it, but we use that door hanger as a mechanism to reach out to them and get them involved in a tree registry program.
Rachel, can you explain to me, like when it's a commercial company doing yard work, trees or whatever, they're supposed to haul it off themselves. They're like, because they're making money, and that's, you said, but they prefer that, like the one, because they charge their customers for it.
So what I've heard from we call them the fly-by-night companies, they'll say, if you want us to take it away, we'll charge you this much. If we leave it out for the city, we'll charge you this much. And the homeowners aren't necessarily aware that the contractor is responsible for taking it away, so they obviously would prefer the lower price. Yeah. And so again, it's the really well-established tree companies. They do it the right way, and they like the tree registry because they want all tree companies to kind of be operating on the same level.
Right. And KUB, when they do tree cuttings,
They have their own vendors and.
Okay. They're supposed to pick it up eventually.
They have their own agreements with the property owners.
Any other questions?
I've gotten one of those door hangers before, but that was not for my, it was for a neighbor's things. But yeah, so the hangers I think is good. And I just think there's some level of, especially with the high level customer service, which is a fantastic goal. Love that goal. Is, that education piece. So anyway, thank you and appreciate all your work.
Just like a final question on a polygraph. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about, sir?
Rush set us.
I don't know that if you looked through the records, you would have any complaints about my brush.
He is a lawyer, boys. He already knew the answer before he asked it.
So training and maintenance, good request. Keep up the great work. You guys do really wonderful work, and I know residents really appreciate it. This is something that they really value in bad weather, or when there's in weather where we're cutting back or trimming. Just all the stuff you do every day really is appreciated by me and by everyone else. So thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Fleet, please. Good morning.
How are you?
You're doing well. Doing well.
I'll also start by introducing myself, Nicholas Bradshaw, the Fleet Director. I've been with the city for about 16 years, been in Fleet for about 8, Director for 4 or 5. And held a lot of roles prior to that with the city. And I'll let Scott introduce himself.
So Scott Jenkins, I've been with Fleet only about 6 months now, so still fairly new to it. I have spent 14 years at the city so far. Most of my time in public service. I had a little bit of a stint in engineering, but majority of time in public service, construction. I spent about 8 years in administration in public service before moving over to Fleet Services. So part of my public service roles was being a liaison for Fleet. So I was working closely with Fleet the whole time I was in administration public service. So got to know their operation really well, and I've been super excited to be over here since. So
Yeah, I'll say that the last 2 jobs I've held were also the last 2 jobs Scott's held, coincidentally. So we're stuck together. But
Well, I appreciate, Scott, your work in the last 6 months in particular, because Nick's had a second job with the city and, on the civil service side of things. So I know that wouldn't be possible without your picking up all the slack at Fleet. Not that you're slacking in any way, but you just have a lot going on. And it's great to see the level of performance at Fleet, not miss a beat.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for allowing us to fill the deputy director slot, and appointing Mr. Jenkins has been invaluable. But I'd like to, if I could, highlight 4 real areas, priorities, and then weave in our 3 requests into how they fit in with these priorities and help further our mission. So the first of these areas I'd like to hit on is, I think it's going to be number one of everybody's list, recruiting and retention, right? So in Fleet, we've had actually quite a bit of success in this area, which I'm happy to celebrate. We've only 54 employees in our department. We have 2 vacancies right now, and those 2 vacancies were left vacant on purpose because of they were on the budget amendment last night. We're trying to move them from one organ to another, and we needed council approval to do that, to move them from impound to the Fleet operations. So I'm glad that was approved. But
And Nick, that was about some efficiencies with how we run our operation, and then being able to use those positions in a new way.
Right. Yeah, we've tried to streamline operations at impound over the last year or so. We've reduced our shifts a bit and reallocated our resources. We're able to move, once those positions became vacant, we're able to move those over to our Fleet operations side where they're more needed. So really appreciate that. But if it wasn't for that, we'd probably be 100% right now. But we were very pleased that went through last night. But so I think the success we've had has been a combination of the really competitive compensation that's worked really well for Fleet. We did have a period of really high turnover a few years ago, and we've done quite a lot of hiring since that time, and we've been able to retain some of those employees. I think the compensation adjustments that were made a couple of years ago have been really instrumental in that. Also, our apprenticeship program, we've been several years in. I think that we're up to 12 apprentices that we've hired. Local partnership agreement we've got with TCAT, and a lot of those apprentices they'll come in, and a lot of them end up staying, and we have get good permanent employees out of that. It's a great pathway and a great way for us to keep that staffing situation up, and we've been fortunate the last couple of years to be pretty consistently at 95% staffing or higher at all times, which is something to celebrate, because a lot of our colleagues have not been that so fortunate. Part of the with the turnover that we experienced a few years ago and the onboarding of new staff, our experience level is relatively low for that reason. A lot of the employees we've hired. A lot of our employees currently have been hired within the last 3 to 5 years. So that leads me into point number 2, which is employee development. Employee development is a critical aspect of any organization, but for us in particular, more than half of our staff are certified technicians that work on vehicles and require a number of certifications and continuing education to grow and maintain expertise. We have created an employee development plan in Fleet, which I'm pretty proud of. But I guess I'll run through it in a nutshell just to provide some context as to one of our, I think it's our second actually request. But we do have an employee development plan that basically involves we supply a sheet of paper, basically a form, to all of our employees, and we ask them what kind of training do they think that they need, what would they like for that year. Then we collect all that feedback. The supervisors review all that feedback and comment on it, whether they concur or have a different recommendation. And then our senior management team evaluates all that feedback, and then we sit down and craft we do this twice a year. Every 6 months we craft a 6-month plan. And there's a lot of cuts, obviously. There's a lot more asks than there are resources available. So we try to really see what the guys want, see what supervisors think they really need, balance those things, and come up with a plan. And then we manage that over every 6 months and make sure as many employees as possible are getting as much training as they can. These are things such as at our light shop, we're trying to invest in electric vehicle training. Our fire shop has a really advanced course as far as the emergency vehicle technician training they're required to get, certifications are required to have in order to work on fire trucks. And then our heavy shop has a lot of really specialized training in terms of electrical maintenance, hydraulic work, and a variety of other topics. So there's a lot of training that we do, and we utilize our budget as efficiently as we can. But it would be really helpful to further some of those employee development needs with this supplement that we've asked for, which is we just asked for about $15,000 more. We have about 35 in our. If you put all our training budget together now, I think, and this is just, and Scott knows this because we just went through it. We're gathering all that feedback and employee feedback, supervisor feedback, and trying to figure out what we can afford and pulling prices as to what the things cost and we're cutting, as you guys know. But trying to really cut that down and fit in our budget. So if we could augment that a bit more, I think it could make a big difference. Every dollar really counts in terms of training. So that was their second request, and that fits in with my second priority number 2 there, which is employee development. The third area I want to discuss is technology. Administration, obviously, Mayor, you've been very supportive over the years with some of our modernization initiatives, and I think we've come a long way. Just to recap some of the big projects we've had funded over the last few years since I've been director. We're FleetWave 2 upgrade, which is the next generation of the fleet management software that we adopted a few years ago. Fuel Master, which is a fuel management system that enables all of our city's fuel sites to be run automated, no attendance required, and we have great accountability and data collection that we have at those fuel sites. So that management software has been invaluable. And then our telematics software, we call it AVL. Samsara is the provider that provides that, and that provides us a great deal of telematic data from vehicle location to location histories to odometer readings and engine diagnostics and all this wonderful data that we have. So that's some of the programs we've been approved in prior years and have implemented. Currently working on a online hosted version of FleetWay, which is just moving our fleet management system to a hosted platform like a cloud, and really allow us to make some great efficiencies in terms of eliminating some of our paper and pencil processes and keeping the technicians online. Great efficiencies that we're going to realize. We're working on that actively. But the next step, which is really encompasses our first request as well as our third, is an expansion of that AVL program, the Samsara program. We have AVLs in about 752 of our fleet assets at this moment. That's 302 in KPD and 450 in the other departments. So if we're gonna get it basically 100%, that's the number one request here, which is an additional 410 units. That does include some trailers, as I recall. I think we split that out a bit. So if the next step to get this fleet at 100% AVL is this is what we would need. It's 410.
What would you say most of those 410 are? What departments? All over? Or?
We've got a list. I think in KPD in particular, the biggest chunks of KPD, the 302 vehicles we have are all in patrol. I think we have patrol pretty much 100%. The other management services, CID, the other divisions do not have AVLs. And then there's most of our public services is 100% right now. And there's, I think, inspections is 100%. But there's a couple other pockets. Fire's now 100%.
Fire's 100. I'd hope so. They're $1 million each, or whatever.
Yeah. So there are. I didn't have the exact
like
breakdown.
Parks and Rec, and we have a lot of okay.
Yeah.
I just and police.
Nobody's at zero.
But the KPD's pretty new. Like
Right,
that's just been the last 2 years or so.
Right. All the public works have been AVL'd for many years. 2015 or so, I think, is when we started.
We started it.
Yeah, we did. And then just a couple of years ago, we had a big expansion and got all those in KPD, which is about 300 But yeah, so if we want to take that next step, and I do have an exact breakdown, I should have brought it with me, but
By apparatus, the fire apparatus.
all the apparatus is done.
Yes, the big equipment there, big apparatus does have AVLs, but some of the inspections, some of the smaller, the battalion chiefs.
But our construction vehicles and
Oh, yeah.
dump trucks, I mean, public service has been in
Yes.
100%.
The technology is
Yeah.
improved and gotten cheaper too. I mean, we first did it, we were using cell phone AVL trackers, and so the technology's gotten so much easier. And then also just, we had the initial, and then we added, and we've got to add. This is
Yeah.
the final batch.
Final stage,
right?
yeah. I
Final
think
stage.
if this is done, shouldn't need to ask for any more unless we're going to do upgrades or something. But at least we'll have at least basic units in every single asset that can support it, and that includes a lot of trailers and things. The trailer AVLs are not quite as expensive. They're a car AVL is it's less than $14.
These are trailers that are being pulled by some other motor, another city vehicle.
Yeah, they're often left at places as well. So I think securities. We have had a few thefts, not a lot, but the AVLs have been invaluable in terms of recovering assets. So that's request one, but that folds into the third area I wanted to highlight, which is technology. And again, we really appreciate all the support we've had over the years and moving this fleet forward, and a lot of innovations that we've been able to make. But this is sort of the next one, and that's what it would take to do that. The fourth and final area I'd love to highlight is just, and I don't have a request associated with this particular area, but I do want to highlight it anyway, and that's Green Fleet. Green Fleet's a big initiative that we've worked on for a number of years, so just wanted to highlight some of the progress we've made in terms of we've got about 40 electric vehicles in service at this moment. We've got another 15 on order that we expect to receive in the coming months. And I know we've talked about we've got a big infrastructure project on L6 that's going to be really helpful. But I think the infrastructure is what we can only buy EVs to fit with the infrastructure we have available. So that's the biggest thing.
Meaning
here.
charging infrastructure.
Charging infrastructure, yeah, to build charger vehicles. So we will continue to grow that.
Do you have to have one charging station per every 3
No.
vehicles, or?
Oh, yeah, there's a ratio, and it depends on the usage. And one of the excellent things about our AVL platform is there's a model in there. We can plug in variables about how many the usage, how many miles a day it drives, where it drives, when it's parked, and it gives us It gives us EV recommendations. We can do suitability studies, and we know when it should charge and where it should charge and that sort of thing. So that's really helpful. But it depends on the location and the application and what time of day they're charging, and when they're if everybody's back at night, then it depends on if we've got a 200 mile a day car versus a 50 mile a day car. 50 mile a day car doesn't need to charge but once a week, whereas the others may charge more often. So then you can balance that with the resources you have available. So in our departments, especially, I'll shout out inspections, who does a phenomenal job of they've managed to keep their fleet charged well on the 6 that we had on L2 for all those years, with a good schedule of rotating in and out. So I'll just shout out quickly our renewable propane fleet. We're up to 37 on-road vehicles and 42 pieces of equipment that run on renewable propane, which is a non-fossil fuel-based clean burning fuel. Also helps with our green fleet goals, and does not require charging infrastructure. So that's something we continue to invest in, and whenever we can procure green vehicles, that is our policy. So that's what we've been doing for a number of years. And
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the progress on the green fleet. That's a big deal, and we can lead by example. And sometimes, having the city employees drive EVs at work, they're like, oh, I thought it would be like this, but it's actually like that. And maybe they'll spread the word and see how, just help overcome misconceptions about them.
exactly, yeah. And we have EVs in every department now. There's a couple that the EVs ordered. It's not actually in service yet, but in the next few months, once this stuff that's ordered is here, we will officially have every EVs in every single department that has it.
And we still anticipate the direct pay, tax credit system.
We've already submitted to that. I think we're supposed to get 105K back. Isn't that what the amount was?
I believe so, yeah. We worked on that worksheet a few months ago. I didn't highlight much our third request. It's still AVL related, but I do want to at least mention it. This was sort of an upgrade request, the third one, which is the $15,000. These were for cameras. These are vehicles that already have AVLs, but the Public Service Department would like to upgrade those AVLs to have forward-facing cameras, like we did with the fire. There's a lot of value in those forward-facing cameras in terms of there's accidents or service pickups. Did we? Someone calls in and said they missed a pickup, that sort of thing. So that was something that Public Service had requested, and we had included that request as our third request there, which is basically upgraded AVL to include dash cameras.
Okay.
Another point too, I think some of these investments in AVLs and cameras in particular, there's sort of an indirect ROI to this too, as you can imagine, with loss prevention, but also claims and
Yes.
Accountability claims.
It's like
accountability claims, or
yeah. Well, I
public
mean,
service truck hits a mailbox, or
Right.
We know.
did they or did they not?
or we're accused of hitting a mailbox. I mean, it's a mutual accountability. So
Hopefully, you see some savings and other risk.
right. I know I've been, received some allegations about our workers doing, spending an hour at Dunkin' Donuts instead of working or whatever, and then we're like, well, let's check the AVL, and usually it's just like, oh, they're on break, or
Or it was a
it was
GDOT
like
driver. Yeah,
10
it wasn't
minutes, or
us.
it wasn't even us. It's really really helpful and good for exonerating us as well.
Yeah.
That was part of my role in public service was at risk would call down and say, hey, we have this claim come in, and I could quickly look and see, do we have any trucks even in the area to even dive any further into? And there was a lot of times risk was able just to deny a claim because we didn't have nobody in the area. So,
Yep.
The attitude has changed around adopting them too. When we did that in 2015, now it's just, I think workers understand too, like, wow, this covers me, because there are a lot of people that file fraudulent claims. They just do. And so.
Some ways like body cam. I mean,
It is like body cam,
cameras
yeah.
on a different level.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, you guys are doing great work. Really pleased with the progress, and I endorse these priorities. They're very very important for every department. So recruiting, retention, employee development, and enhancements through technology for better efficiencies. Good stuff. So
I do want to share a quick
Yeah,
anecdote.
sure.
Brag on this team. Last week, I think it was, the CEO of a pretty big company in Knoxville, contracting company, reached out wanted to meet with our fleet team
Wow.
to learn best practices.
wow.
And they visited yesterday or
Yeah,
day
it's been a
before.
couple hours yesterday. Yeah.
And I got a follow-up email.
Wow,
Thank you
that's awesome.
so
Wow.
much. Really appreciate you guys running a great operation. This is private sector.
Wow. Learning from the
A
public
big
sector.
private sector company that
Yeah,
is
that's
learning from our
fantastic.
team. That
Does he
speaks
want a
volumes.
tape of testimonials?
They would. I'm sure they would. So.
But this,
I thought you were going to say he was trying to recruit Scott or Nick away. Well, don't-
yeah, the follow-up
yeah,
calls
yeah.
to Nick. I was just going to say the fact that I think council, you've been around obviously for a long time, but we pay ahead on our vehicle replacements. Anytime I see a municipality outside of us like begging for new vehicles, and like we pay in, that's operationalized into the budget. That is a really good way to run a system. And
Yeah,
we're
'cause
looking
we
at
know
how
we're gonna need to
Yeah, we're going to have to replace them. Just pay for it as you go. It's like, instead of going out and doing your car payment for 5 years, just put that into the bank and then pay cash for the car. And so, good way to do it. Yep.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I just also want to say thank you for all the stuff, everything you all do, but I'm always really excited about the apprenticeship program, and when you come, you told council about that, and I remember specifically the tools, piece of that. I thought that was really a great program, and I think what you're doing there is really a good model for a lot of the other departments to look at, because public sector doesn't always have the same ability to compete in the private sector pay-wise, but you certainly can bring people in early and get them trained up and see that it's a good career. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing there, and obviously the development that you're doing is great. I wanted to ask a little bit about, and the technology. I think that's amazing too. But I wanted to ask about the return on investment regarding the green fleet. You know, I think there's always a misconception that, hey, you're spending all this money on, because you do it, you're front loading a lot of costs, but then you're also insulated from the fluctuations of, fuel costs and things like that. So can you talk a little bit about, what kind of return on investment you're seeing from that green fleet?
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is something we spend a lot of time on with our analytics team every year. The electronic vehicles, the maintenance is about 2/3 of a regular vehicle, and then the fuel is much, much lower than that. You're still paying a little bit on the kilowatt hour charge versus gasoline, but and every application is a little different. But even our first generation EVs, which are the 2018 Leafs, we hit our ROI within 6 years on those, and we're at year, so we're in the green now at this point. On the renewable propane, it's not as good as the EVs because the propane cost is still a little over $1 a gallon, still less. But
Would you say 5 or 6 years? It pays, yeah.
6, less
For
than
the
6.
EVs, wow.
Yeah, so
That's pretty fast.
That's the first generation, the 2018s we got. We hit those. But yeah, we crunch those numbers every year to see when we're making decisions on when to buy an EV, and we use some of the metrics to actually see if we're going to get ROI. That's why we start with a lot of the low-hanging fruit, SUVs, sedans, pickup trucks. We're buying EVs. Heavy stuff's not quite there, so we do have a grant to buy a heavy truck. There's not an ROI on an electric heavy truck at this time. But a grant.
And what's the expected life cycle of this set of vehicles you're talking about? I know it's different for police, I know that.
Sure. Yeah, we've only got the one police EV. We just procured it, but we're still, it's going to vary a bit depending on the application, but 8 to 12 years typically. 10's pretty standard as we see. But yeah, with usage, the life cycle is affected. But yeah, absolutely, ROI is a huge part of it. We do finish in the green on the electric vehicles that we've procured thus far, and the upfront premium you mentioned has gone down significantly. So I think we'll see an even better ROI going forward. Those 2018s that we just sort of hit that on were more of a premium, as you can see in the market now. Current light-duty EVs are less expensive than they used to be compared to conventional vehicles.
I think assembling that data and then getting that out there so people understand, the public understands, hey, we're saving money by doing this program. I think that's really a key thing too. But anyway, just wanted to thank you for all your work, and thank you for being so responsive whenever we have questions.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we will have some budget funds to fund some of this. Time will tell.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah.
All right, let's move. Now we're a little behind schedule, so engineering. Let's,
Engineering always goes so fast.
engineering is a lot of things. Okay, let's take a little bio break all right, let's go ahead and get started. Sorry we're slightly behind schedule, but I'm sure engineering just has a couple things to talk about. So anyhow, it'll all be good. We'll give you all the time we need.
Okay.
So go ahead.
All right, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all. I'll start with some introductions of our team. I'm Tom Clayville, Engineering Director. We've got Chris Howey, our Deputy Engineering Director. Karen McKeon, Chief Transportation Engineer. David McGinley, Chief Stormwater Engineer. Get Sean Fitzpatrick, our Chief Civil Engineer, and Curtis Williams, Engineering Planning Chief. So, as you know, we've got 4 divisions within engineering, 99 total employees. Got some great news to share. Last year at this time, we were talking to you about issues with staffing, 12 vacancies. We've, through your help with some reallocations, the finances help, and HR, we've got currently 3 vacancies. All of those are in the interview process. And so
That's great.
I consider us fully
Yeah,
staffed.
so we've gone from 12 to approximately 0.
Yep. So that's great news.
Yeah, that is great news.
That's been a big boost for morale for the
Yeah.
department. So thank you for your help with that. So with that being said, as we get to the point where we're staying fully staffed, I think the focus this year is on retention, career development, so you're going to hear some things about that in some of our requests.
Okay.
And I'd like, if you would allow, for each of our divisions to kind of give you a brief update of what's been going on. So we'll let Karen start with that.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point out some highlights from the last year from each of the groups within transportation. For our street lighting and signal maintenance group, in addition to just maintaining our system, which is 400 signalized intersections, lots of school zone flashers. A noteworthy project was the Henley Street Bridge decorative lighting, which we restored that lighting back to Henley Bridge for the first time since 2018.
They look fantastic. You know, they're really better than the original effort by a lot, I'd say. You know,
So that's
great.
something that I'm very proud of, that our team was able to implement with in-house forces to install those lights on the bridge. Our signs and marking group, they have been busy as usual with supporting special events with traffic control. We had 160 special events last year that we supported. We also have engaged a consultant to do a sign inventory and an assessment for us. That work is underway right now, so hopefully in the next 6 months we'll know exactly how many signs we have within the city and what condition they're in.
The inventory is underway.
Yes.
Yeah,
it
we
is.
approved that. Well, yeah, I remember
My
that.
wife was like, why are those people out looking at our street signs?
It's
And I
kind of
said,
strange.
that's the sign guy, you know, it was kind of funny because they have, anyway, it was just, a lot of people are like, what are they doing? And I was like, part of the city
Those
work.
weirdos are us.
Yeah.
We care.
I love it.
So our parking meter group, they have been very busy,
Oh my
especially in the
gosh,
last
yeah.
week, trying to get ready for the implementation of mobile pay. So we are, well underway with removing meters and getting signage up to make that happen. The go live date is March 10th, so that's exciting as well.
Exciting, that's a good word for it, I guess. Yeah. So the go live date is March 10th. Okay, I knew that, but it's a good reminder. That's in 5 days.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please thank your folks. I know
Yes,
that's been a lift.
yeah, that's been a lot, and I'm
It's been a
sure they
lift.
get a lot of
A lot of overtime.
questions. Well, overtime, that's
Yeah.
good, but yeah, people seeing them around downtown are probably, they may get some questions, but anyhow, appreciate it. It's a big change, but I think obviously a positive one.
And we are continuing our efforts for our Vision Zero program. We were very pleased to receive another federal Safe Streets for All grant, this one much larger than the first. So we'll
The
be-
Chapman Highway one.
Mhm. So that one, over $22 million, will be moving forward with that implementation. And last but not least, our operations group, they fielded approximately 540 investigations, could be from citizens or from other constituents, council people, departments. Those investigations are for roadway safety improvements. So that consumed a lot of their time, as well as 500 traffic control permits that we issued to support development within the city and also utility improvements.
Like sidewalk closures or roadway
Roadway.
closures, stuff like that. Mhm. Wow, it's a busy time. All the changes in the city affect transportation quite a bit. Well, and you also were lead on our RAISE grant. So good job on that. Yeah, that's a big one too. But great job. Yeah, glad to hear it. We're going to stormwater now?
Yep, David.
Okay.
Stormwater's focus for the last little while has been the ARPA projects. Currently, we have 9 projects going along for approximately $11 million. 2 general civil projects on Baum and Cherry, 3 stream bank remediations, a creek cleanup project, and 2 cast-in-place pipe remediation projects. Also, our asset management project, which is a big focus that we've been doing, trying to make sure that we know the condition of all of our pipe systems, Probably just saw phase 2 of that contract come through council
Yeah.
for another $2.1 million. Total of that one was going to be around $4.3 million.
Just for like an inventory? I mean, not
Yes,
just, but
It's going to be an
it's not
inventory.
actually fixing anything.
Right, it's not fixing anything, but
Yeah.
it's gonna let us know what needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So they're doing a condition report for all those pipes. They've done approximately 20,000 assets now. And based on their assessment, 1% of those are failure imminent, and 37% of them are in fair to poor condition, so they're gonna need attention relatively.
1% imminent? Just, okay.
So it's not,
Yeah.
but when you start considering the fair and the poor, those are the ones that are gonna need attention in the next 3 to 5 years.
So almost 40% need attention in the near future.
Yes, ma'am. And when we did the evaluation on that earlier, that's about $800 million worth of deferred maintenance that's just gonna come due.
And Mayor, this is an issue that multiple administrations have tried to, kind of understand and get their arms around. I think, you've given a pretty direct charge, which is, how do we tackle this and not kick it down the road to the next administration? So this assessment was absolutely critical. We knew it was big. I think we now know it's really, really big. And so it's going to help guide policy decisions that I know we're going to work with council on over the next 30 some odd months, because this would be a nice one to address so it's not kicked down the road. We've been putting small Band-Aids on it for a long time, and let's go ahead and just start to hammer it out, figure out what the solution is.
Okay, good work.
Sean?
So the civil division, as you know, we work on capital projects. We currently have 38 projects in active design development.
How many?
38. That's anywhere from starting a NEPA process if it's federally funded, all the way through right-of-way acquisitions or final design to get it out to bid. There's about 10 projects that are active construction contracts right now. Some of the big projects that we finished this year, Kingston Pike Complete Streets, Cal Johnson ADA access that we just finished, Old Broadway sidewalk. Some that are under construction that we're just getting going, or you know about some of them. Severe Avenue's just gotten started, so that's one that was on the development list last year. So it's under construction now. The pavilion at Urban Wilderness at the end of James White Parkway.
Yeah, that's underway.
That's under construction. Augusta Quarry, the bathrooms, that's what we're doing, and resurfacing. We've got the first bid out, it's ready to get started soon for districts 2, 3, and 4.
Paving, resurfacing.
Yes.
Is resurfacing the preferred term for some reason, rather than paving? It's the same.
Just synonyms.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know if there's some distinction.
And then for in-house work, of those 38, some of the ones that might be interesting, we've got 4 bridge projects that are some form of rehab or replacement. I'm sure we all know one of them is.
Let's spend another hour talking about it. No, that's okay. No, I appreciate all your work
I
on
didn't
that.
name it.
It's been,
Did you not bring any parts in here from the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
what are the other, besides the Gay Street Bridge, what are the other bridge projects we're working on?
So the Boyd's Bridge, the truss out of the east end of town, East Knox Greenway, and then we're looking at Hill Avenue Viaduct as well.
And Mayor, and we've talked about Hill is another older
Sorry,
bridge that's
East
going to
Knox.
need some significant work in the next decade.
Yeah, what's East Knox
I
Greenway?
meant East Greenway Bridge.
Where's that?
Between Broadway.
Greenway Drive.
It's near the Target.
Oh, it's not a greenway, it's
No,
a
no,
Greenway
Greenway
Drive.
Drive.
That's how
Yeah.
confusing
I
is
threw
that? Yeah,
Greenway
okay,
because we have East Knox Greenway project.
Right.
Just rolled.
yeah.
And then there's about 8 sidewalk projects that were selected for an in-house design that we're working on with this new software, and our consultants helping us be more proficient at doing in-house design with our young engineers.
So Sean, how long have you been with the city?
29 years.
29 years, wow. So in your 29 years, are we busier than the previous
Very much
25
so.
years?
Yeah.
Tell me, I mean, just share with me, like 38 projects active, compared to, say, 15
So
years ago.
When Tom and Karen and I were young doing civil projects, we might get 3 or 4, maybe per engineer, and now there's 8 or 9
Wow.
per engineer. So yeah, it's a lot more work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. That's fantastic, and appreciate everybody's hard work. It's great. I mean, hopefully there's a sense of satisfaction because, you know, there's very tangible evidence of the progress we're making. Sometimes it takes a few years, but I mean, I find it satisfying when I see all the hard work yield results.
It's a pride point for us when we do interviews and people ask, what do we like about our job? It's pretty easy to say you live in the community, you work, and you drive by the stuff you work on all the time and see people use it.
Yeah.
And Sean, I guess, part of this too, Tom and Sean and the team is just, better facilities where we work, better technology, having the equipment. I mean, how do we do more with the same resources has been the message, but still not burn people out. And so hopefully that has made a big difference. Compensation, quality facilities where you work, quality technology.
Being fully
Those all
staffed.
make a difference with the team, right?
Yep.
So.
All right.
Curtis?
So engineering development services had quite a bit going on over the past year or so. We've seen a continued uptick in permitting. So in 2022, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3,100 permits. 2023, we issued about 3,500, and then for whatever reason, in 2024, we saw a jump to 4,700 permits that we reviewed. So that's a pretty significant jump, and it has, for several years, we've trended upward quite dramatically. So that's been challenging to keep up with that, but staff has been able to keep pace with the benchmarks that we set, for the development community.
Which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
More transparency. We can't meet the goals if we don't know what the goals are. So kudos to you and the whole team for getting those metrics and then meeting them. So fantastic.
Another part of good metrics, we've been working with our the Acela consultant, Vero, and they've been extremely helpful. We've made quite a bit of progress with them, but we're still taking a pretty deep dive into our process. The goal would be to we have a lot of data siloed in a lot of different areas, and so we're trying to get that data into Acela so that we can do searches and things like that and get useful data out of it, and it helps us keep track of those management points. So that's been something else that's going on. Another thing we've been working with consultants that just help us with the third-party reviews. As you can imagine, there's still a need for the third-party reviews, and they've really helped us with when we've had kind of those times of log jams. We've been able to shave those peaks down and kind of keep our benchmark times cranking out. So that's been good. And then we're currently in the process of trying to engage consultants for additional help, whether it's some design work or even looking at some of our in-house documents, our policies, and some of our regulations. With staff being just overwhelmed with just trying to keep up with development. We've had little time to no time to focus on that. So that's kind of what's going on in our world.
It's busy, but progress is being made. So, and you're fully staffed. I mean, you've said that's for the whole department. So.
That's it.
That helps a lot. Yeah, good.
Yes.
So that's introductions and description for each division. I do want to make sure I recognize that I've got a great team. I'm very fortunate to have these folks. They are. I think public service is a little bit unique. You've got to kind of be a calling, something you're passionate about, and I think each of these folks are, and I think you can see that in the work they do. So I want to make sure I recognize that they do a great job.
And quite a lot of experience at the table. I mean, everyone's 20 years plus? Or
Yeah,
Curtis and I are young ones. We're at 19.
19.
You color matched today too, by the way.
Yeah, you are sort of complimentary. Yeah, well, yeah, we really appreciate your commitment to the city.
That's right.
So we've got 12 requests. We'll kind of move in that direction as far as starting to talk about those. One thing you're going to see, and Chris didn't really get to say much, but I want to make sure I recognize his efforts in helping us get fully staffed. He's been our point person working with HR and all the chiefs, setting up, we've been doing a lot of career fairs, we've been doing a lot of outreach, and Chris has been our point person for that. So the reason we're fully staffed is because of Chris's efforts. He also helped us with, you might remember our engineering intern program we wanted to establish. We did get that up and going, had 4 interns this year, and Chris.
Because the private sector's like starting in high school practically. It's like, you know, so we need to keep up.
So you'll see something about that in our request as well. But so we'll start thinking your all's book. It starts with operating requests. So the first one here is special event traffic control. The request is $350,000. I'll let Karen speak a little bit to that.
So as I mentioned before, our team staffed 160 special events last year. With the new stadium coming online in mid-April, that's going to increase the number of events by at least an extra 100. And our team just simply, we don't have the time to devote to those extra closures. So we're asking for some additional money to help fund some firms that we can hire to help us with that effort.
Some of those costs could be, you know, recovered through fees. I mean, we charge, well, anyhow, that's something I know that others, I mean, a 5K, people pay, right?
This is special events also. It's not just special events, but just regular events, like regular closures, pedestrianization of our pedestrianization area, the farmers market footprint, and a lot of areas around the stadium, you know, that will, even when there's non-events, we may continue closures, just, you know, creating more, activating some of these streets and becoming more safer pedestrian areas, in addition to just stepping up our efforts of making these pedestrian zones safe when we can close for parades. We're stepping that up a little bit too, so this includes some of that in light of.
Like even like all these retractable ballers, someone has to retract them.
Retractable ballers
Or pull them out.
more of them.
The meridian barricades that we can deploy. And
I'm glad we put
additional
those.
staff that helps us, and not just staff, third parties that can help augment, because we have, you know, only so many staff that can staff closures, so.
Okay.
And just to be clear, we passed last night around 120K for this same purpose. That was just to get us through the rest of
That's it.
Through the fiscal year.
This 350
This is
would
the
be
full
for
year.
the entirety of FY26,
That's correct.
right?
That's correct.
And I think this is one of those ongoing costs, and there's really 2 pieces to it. More events, and the stadium is baseball, soccer, plus all the other events. One of the reasons we're doing the sports and entertainment analysis is to start to guide relationships between all the entities that are going to touch these events. But it's also just, we look at what happened in French Riviera, and then we looked at New Orleans, and we looked at Munich. Like, how we protect people is going to require just more resources. And so,
And UT's doing more
UT
too.
too.
You know, Morgan Wallen, another good example. I mean, that was a
great event.
It was a great event, but you
So-
know, additional time investment
a
on
little
our team.
unexpected.
It's unexpected.
Rushed.
And there, you know, there's UT's indicated desire to do more of those, and you know, we're going to have to step up to support those events, make sure they go safely and smoothly.
One of the reasons we want to do the third party is, are there technology things that we can do with like traffic control boxes that then free up officers, and maybe resources could be redirected over, and having a third party bring together campus, athletics, city, visit Knoxville. It's just going to help guide some of those investments. Because right now we're doing kind of onesie-twosies, Band-Aids to make sure we do it right. How do we start to look at aligning those resources?
Okay. Training?
So next is engineering training budget increase, and I mentioned a little bit about retention and what we're doing as far as career development, so I'll let Chris speak to that.
And now that we have this fully staffed group, we want to make sure that we keep them and keep them for a long period of time. And what we kind of have observed to a point is that our group is highly associated with licensures, training associated with maintaining your licensure, but also with the number of technicians we have that need certifications, be it our sign and signal shop and parking folks, or it be our field inspectors, because there's a lot of training and certifications that go into that process. And historically, over the years, it seems like we have, in a funding management approach, have kind of leaned towards webinars, folks coming in to talk about a product demonstration, and really kind of meeting, I'll say, the absolute bare minimum of what we need to be able to maintain this licensure. And so this request is an additional $45,000 over what we currently have, which is around $52,000, which would open the door for us to be able to broaden our approach in that. For myself, the last time I went to a conference that was outside of Knoxville was probably 15 years ago. We are kind of isolated in our region to a point where we really don't know necessarily what other people are doing, and I think that exposure to the broader region, I think there's a lot of benefit not only for the city, but for each of those folks to recognize that they are being able to progress in their careers. And to come up with that dollar amount, we kind of looked at a few different things. Reached out to a couple of local engineering firms to see what their rates were, and they were in the same kind of general concept. Also looked at our plan review and inspections team and looked at how many people they have and what their budget is. They have about 38 folks on their team, and their budget's about $42,000. So we have almost 3 times that many folks, and our budget's only $10,000 more than theirs are. And so trying to come up with a concept that would open that door for folks to get a broader based and an improved training criteria that is the gist of what we're trying to ask for that additional funding.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
So next is a staff augmentation for transportation, $250,000. Karen?
So I guess previously when we came to you and said, we don't have enough engineers, we can't fill these vacancies, there was a real need for staff augmentation to help us train our young engineers and to also help us with requests and just to keep up with the workload. Now that we're fully staffed, we would like to transition more towards doing signal timing updates on our corridors. As you're all aware, we have many ATMS projects in the works, but it's going to take a while to get those implemented. So we would like to use consultants to make updated signal timing changes on these corridors in the meantime. Broadway would be a prime example of one that we could do that with. Typically, for a consultant to do updated timing, it's roughly $5,000 to $10,000 per intersection.
So this would be, I mean, Councilman Roberto's in the room. Hey, we want to look at a very specific series of intersections in perhaps from Bearden Elementary School up to North Shore. We want to see if those are timed right. This is where you would say, hey, we've got a consultant that can go do that right now, but it's going to cost about 10 to 20 grand depending on the number of signals.
And I will say...
Is that a good example of what this would be used for?
It is, but it's really being a little more proactive even than that, because we've got these ATMS projects for all the major corridors that are maybe 3 to 5 years out.
We need to study them.
And so typically with a major corridor, you want to look at timing every 3 to 5 years. And we've just not been able to do that. And so we're well behind on that. So this is kind of the...
This is proactively looking at this.
Yeah, and so we've got to use some consultants to help us. We have some of that capability in-house. It's a matter of what's the priority and what our workload is. I'll give credit to Karen's team. I mentioned this last night at council, but Chapman Highway, that was all in-house. So we're getting ready to implement a signal timing plan from Blunt to Stone Road.
Great. Wow, that's a long stretch.
If we would have hired a consultant to do that, you're probably looking at $60,000 to $80,000. We were able to do that in-house with our forces.
That implementation is going to happen, I mentioned it earlier, when is that going to happen?
He's got everything ready to go. He develops a model and it actually goes out and plugs into each controller to implement the model. This timing along the corridor.
Who is he?
Evan Hoffman.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember him.
You just did an excellent job avoiding the when do you think it'll happen question.
Yeah. So
seasoned veteran.
This spring. This spring?
Yes.
Give me a range.
Yes.
This spring.
By the end of March.
Okay. Oh,
awesome.
Wow, that's soon.
And I think at that point we can confidently, because I mentioned last night, we've looked at all our controllers. We've looked at signal. Actuate the loops.
Infrastructure, yeah.
So we've got everything in place. We've improved communication between all those signals. This is the last step in that. Okay, now everything's talking. Let's put a plan in place that helps move.
Green Light City.
Yep. So I think
now I'm actually nervous that Tom gave that firm. Can we just say the beginning of April?
Spring.
Thank you.
Anyhow, that's super exciting. Good work, Karen and Evan. And when that's ready, to launch, let's tell people that what we've done.
So this request would be to help us do that same concept with a Broadway, a Kingston Pike, those facilities.
While we wait for ATMS.
Yes.
Because this is still just temporary. ATMS is more dynamic.
It is. And once we implement ATMS, we're upgrading a lot of the hardware. We'll have a lot of video detection, but that also includes a new signal timing plan for those corridors. So this is just kind of that, to fill that gap.
Okay.
So this request is above and beyond already the staff augmentation request that we've got. We're funded for transportation division.
I believe it was a one-time.
That was a
It wasn't
one-time
an
last
It's
year.
gone away now, and this is, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think last year the request was 350. I think we got 150.
Yeah.
And this year's request is
But I think that's an important point. We've already funded some of that in track. We've also done some in plan review and inspection. Are those going to continue, or are those, that, we want to continue this, but are we going to need staff augmentation in other parts that can go away?
Yeah, I think we're gonna always need a little bit, but hopefully the number goes down because we've staffed up obviously as well.
Okay.
But I think we're always gonna need a level of staff augmentation.
Okay.
Just because, you know, the
The work,
demand
yeah,
is
the
gonna,
volume.
is gonna fluctuate, so.
Thank you.
All right.
The next request is similar for civil engineering, $50,000. Sean, you want to speak to that?
So, yeah, mine's the same as last year. It was a one-time thing. We reevaluated it. We have one young engineer that's learning the software. We're interviewing for another one. So the thought is we're still going to need staff augmentation to help with this software training and how to get through these design projects. So the intent is to use it the same way that we did this year.
Okay.
So a lot shorter sales pitch.
Yeah, simple is not bad.
Yep, the last one here on operating is permit efficiency program. That's Curtis.
So that's a supplemental request of the budget item approved last year, and that's to continue that, being able to engage consultants to help us with our, again, just to shave off the peaks during those times where we get a large inflow of permits.
I hope also the intent, particularly the permit-related improvements, we can fund through as you all know, we increased our permit fees this time last year, so those revenues should be coming in pretty strong. I haven't looked at the latest, but we should have more robust revenue coming in to cover those direct expenses related to permit process. So the development community is paying for the improvements.
Can those revenues cover some of these personnel additions?
That's
the idea?
For the permit-related, development services related in particular.
And I will
Sort of
note,
all related to development.
the permit efficiency last year, I think we were approved at $170,000. And we had a discussion then, we'll see how that goes and reevaluate where we're at. And so this year, we're thinking we're at 60, what we need, $60,000. So we've staffed up, we'll get those folks trained. We still, and I think there'll be an ongoing need to have these consultants to help us. I mean, like Curtis said, we're up 1,200 permits this year, so the demand's not going away. So we need to have some outside resources that we can help meet those benchmarks. So,
Okay. Moving to personnel requests?
Yep. First is Transportation Engineering Tech 1, $82,680. Karen?
So this request is to add an additional technician to our operations group. Currently, the technicians, the two that we have, they work mainly on traffic control permits, but also on requests, data collection for, could be Vision Zero efforts, could be traffic calming, you name it. But specifically for traffic control permits, we have enough staff to actually issue the permits, but we don't have the time to actually go out and review what's been put in the field to make sure that they followed their plan, that they're doing everything that they can to ensure the safety of the public. So this position would help us to be able to do that. As I mentioned before, last year we had 500 traffic control permits that we issued. This year, the numbers that we're seeing so far, we're on trend for 1,000 permits this year.
This is for construction projects mostly.
It could be
road, yeah.
utility work, it could be development.
Traffic control, closure.
Wow,
A
double.
lot, yeah.
So we're also looking at fees
Yes.
For that.
Yeah.
to charge to cover.
And
costs.
we currently don't charge any fees for that permit. And
Oh,
so
why? Why?
that's-
That's why we're looking at it.
Okay, yeah, so we gotta
And-
fix that.
And I think it's very important that we can, I mean, our intent would be to dedicate one staff person to not only issue the permits, but to go out and actually follow up and make sure. Most folks are good about implementing.
Trust but
Yeah,
verify.
Yeah. But we want to just check in on that, so. Stormwater Engineering Tech 1, David, you want to talk about that one?
This position would be mostly perform construction inspections, particularly CEI. In the last 5 years, we've gone from, we've increased our
What's CEI?
construction engineering
Oversight.
Okay.
Oversight.
Got it.
Yeah. And during that time, our cost of projects have increased 3.5 times. We expect this position would be able to do between $100,000 and $150,000 worth of CEI inspections that we normally farm out. So it would more than pay for itself during normal times. In addition, we're doing the ARPA projects, the stormwater asset management. When that comes to fruition and we figure out all the things that are going to need to be fixed, this is going to be a critical position to be able to assist with that as well.
Okay.
Next, sign and marking technician 1, Karen.
So our signs and marking group is currently 9 employees. Those 9 employees work, as I mentioned, over 100 special events a year. Last year, those 9 employees got over 4,200 hours of overtime. So it would be really nice to have an extra person to add into the mix to help with that workload.
Yeah, and maybe cheaper than all that overtime, right? Okay.
Engineering student internship. Chris, you want to talk about that one?
Sure, and this is the program that Tom was originally talking about that we started last year with the support of finance. I think that they had used salaries, unused salaries to help fund that intern program. As we're approaching full staffed, the funding source for that, we weren't really sure about it, but we wanted to make sure we were requesting to continue on that program. We have found that the folks that have come on board have really appreciated and enjoyed the experience. It's really allowed us to connect better with UT and their programs. We've made contacts with the academic program coordinator at UT, and they're very interested in the fact that we have one in helping match up students with us. Last year we had over 30 folks that were interested in it, and over the course of the year, we still continually get folks that are asking, do you have an intern program? When is the next opportunity going to be made available? And so it's something that we're pretty excited about. One of the folks, at least one, maybe even 2 of the folks that we have right now that are really enjoying the intern program, when we get to a point where the intern program wraps up and they graduate from school, they would like to come work for the city. So if we have an available position, we've already had that opportunity to interview that person over a long period of time and recognize their capabilities. And so we definitely see that as a benefit. We were fortunate enough that HR, working with them to support creating a new intern role that is an engineering intern that helps us put the salaries on pace with the rest of the community, and KUB and other folks that standardly hire interns, so that we can be competitive with who we're trying to get out of those programs. But basically, the funding that we've asked for is to be able to keep someone part-time year-round or a 6-month full-time co-op program, but basically having one intern available for each of the 4 divisions to help support not only the relationship with UT and the city, but to help provide folks for us right down the road that might be able to fill some of the positions that come up.
Okay, well, speaking of HR, Mary Margaret, glad you're here today to oversee this, and we keep hearing that priority for every department is recruitment and retention, and, you know, HR has been a huge help in that, so we're grateful for HR, and, you know, starting this program is, you know, is an important step. So we currently have no internship program, or just it's a little more ad hoc?
Last year was the first year
Last
that we
year's-
had restarted it, but I don't
Okay.
know that we have routine funding in place to be able to maintain and continue that on, and that's basically what the request is for here.
Uh-huh.
Recognizing that finance may have another way to fund that, but we just want to make sure that
It's on the
program
table,
is,
yeah.
it's important to us, we want to make sure it's considered.
Got it. Thank you.
This next request is along those same lines. Signs and markings overtime, $10,000. So we have an established budget. We continually, on a consistent basis, are about 10,000 over that. We just want to make sure finance is aware that, as I'm sure they are. I think we've probably handled that with some vacant salaries before, but as we've completely staffed up, I don't know where we're going to be with that. I just want to make folks aware.
Okay.
Parking overtime, Karen, you want to talk about that one, $70,000?
So we've never actually had an overtime budget established for the parking group. I think part of that was because Mark Elliott, our parking manager before, he was in a different organization code, but now they're all in the same org code within the 504 fund. So we're just asking for that budget to be established. And the number that we've requested is kind of based on previous years and where we're seeing that overtime headed.
Okay.
So this request it really addresses what we have been spending on an annual basis. So just wanted finance to be aware of that. So,
Okay.
then stormwater overtime, David, you want to speak to that?
Ours is similar to transportation. We've never had a budget for that either. David Hagerman always handled those overtime after hours emergencies for spills and whatnot. With his retirement in July, that program is being taken on by some technicians, and they'll incur overtime, whereas David was salaried and didn't incur that overtime.
So we're essentially establishing an on-call.
Stormwater emergency.
Right. And these
response.
are for environmental issues. If you have a tanker truck that spills diesel, or then they
Obviously
work
prevent
with
you know.
police department, fire department.
Hazardous
to
materials
come out
from getting, yeah.
and give technical assistance with those types of spills. So
So does that go hand in hand with those on-call persons that you submitted things for
yes,
recently?
yeah, the vehicles, yep.
Okay.
And that's it. So
Okay. Well, you guys are really busy and getting a lot done. I'm glad we're fully staffed. And that means no vacancy savings though, so we have to recognize that in our budget development. So appreciate it. Keep up the great work.
all right, thank you.
All right. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody doing okay today?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with CAT.
Yeah, so first I'll introduce staff that's here.
Yeah.
So we have Pat Downs, Chief Administration Officer, and Connie Cook, our Finance and Grants Manager. So
Great, welcome. I know you're still relatively new to CAT, so we're glad to have you.
yeah, so I guess the first thing I want to say is just, we've seen some tangible results from CAT Reimagined and implementation of that in August. Our ridership is up 23.8% year to date through January. So it's been a huge success. Not every year that we can come in here and talk about.
Ridership is up how much?
23.8% year to date.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's not every year that we can come and talk about increased ridership, but this is one of those years. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
actually, we've seen ridership increases over the last 2 years. So we are way above 2019 ridership pre-COVID. So very excited.
That's really good.
Yeah, very excited about that. And then some of the other projects that we're still working on is our overhead charging infrastructure project at Knoxville Station. We're in the A&E phase of that. We're hopeful that we can start construction sometime this fall, may end up being next spring. We're also working through our bus stop improvements. We have 15 of those. We are wrapping up the A&E on those, I believe, this week, so we may be able to start construction this fall as well. And then finally, we're getting 4 new electric vehicles, buses, starting April this year. So those are just some of the projects that we're working on. We will have a total of 25 electric vehicles in our fleet. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's out of how many?
We have 75 fixed route.
So 1/3.
Yep. So,
That's better than ever before.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep this very, very simple. What we are asking for basically is a 2.5% increase for wages throughout CAT for all departments. That's our main request today. It's pretty simple. So every department we're asking for basically is a 2.5% increase.
Okay. That is simple,
Yep.
but a big number at the
Yep.
same time, so, but that's good to know. Yep, it's all basically the salaries, so.
Yep.
Okay. That's easy enough to understand, and it's all just, these are different categories of employees. Okay, 2.5%.
Yep.
Can I just ask a question about, just not about the salary so much as like, I know, we have predominantly federal funds that fund, FTA funds, CAT, and I just want to ask you, keep us in the loop if you encounter obstacles to that or run across things where you're like, we really need to advocate for federal funds that support CAT. Because, I know that we just rely heavily on federal funds. What federal funds fund how much, what percentage?
$9 million a year.
Yeah.
And boys, what
Significant.
remind me of obviously the mayor and this administration are totally committed to transit. Kitchener and Boyce remind me, the city as the sole supporter of CAT, we support them how much each year? We augment their budget to make sure it happens?
Well, it'll vary
It does.
from year to year, but
Range.
last year's around 15.
Yeah, I think it's always important to say, occasionally people call us about transit. It's like, yeah, we fully support transit, 15 million a year.
So the
to make sure
feds
it
do
happens.
9?
Approximately $9
And we do
million.
15.
Again, that fluctuates too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
We are
local taxes are a huge contributor to it.
huge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think didn't we look at FY '24 reimbursements to CAT? I thought that was around 15 for that particular fiscal year.
Yeah, and I'm just counting operating. If you look at
Yeah.
capital,
Yeah,
Capital-
Capital's different than operating.
Capital Fed funds more,
Yeah.
a higher percentage.
Yeah, they're buying a lot of the buses and the infrastructure, but operationally, we fund a lot of transit. It's
Yeah.
important to remind folks.
It's also interesting, I mean, just last night, a person came and spoke at Public Forum, and he's like, people really need access to jobs if they live in Knoxville. How are they gonna get to Maryville or Sevierville? You should expand CAT service, and, those that other, if the other regional partners want to pay for it, then we'd be glad to, but right now, it's just city taxpayers who are supplementing and making this happen, so we can't expect city taxpayers to help businesses outside the city.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but a lot of people don't understand that because they maybe grew up in places where it's a larger metropolis and regional approach to transit.
Yeah, and if we did have a regional approach to transit, we had other municipalities participating local funding, we'd have a bigger share of the federal funding portion too to help fund it. So-
Explain that to me.
So for our formula grant funding, we would get more funding. Those municipalities would get more federal funding to help pay for the transit, basically, through our 5307 formula grants that are provided through Federal Transit Administration.
They would also need to contribute on just like we
Yes.
contribute on the operating.
They have to.
We're
It's
around-
not, you have to have some skin in the
Yeah.
game.
Correct.
Yeah, there's significant resources.
If they came up with that local share, there's federal.
Is it like 80-20 or?
It could be, it's sometimes 50-50.
Yeah, it's about half.
Well, that's the barrier.
Yep.
Yeah. People want it for.
We're a willing partner if other people want to come to the table, but you just stated it, the city can't be in the business
Right.
of city taxpayers paying for other counties and municipalities.
Right. Okay, well, thanks so much. It's pretty, it's important, but it's also really clear. I don't really have any follow-up questions at this point, but thank you for all your good work. I hear I hear good things about, I mean, ridership is up because of Cat Reimagine,
Yes.
and the routes are better, they're more frequent. And when there's been little hiccups, people have gone out of their way occasionally to say, I called Cat, I explained, this was a weird thing, could they fix it? And, 9 times out of 10, if you can fix it without, disrupting other things, you do. And so kudos, and I do have occasionally, the opportunity to ride the bus, and my experience with the other riders and with the operators has always been just top notch, and the condition of the buses is clean and safe, and it's like having your own, it's just really high quality service. So I appreciate it, and the people who ride CAT do too. And I think this ridership, I mean, that's a substantial increase. So I'm really encouraged by that.
Yeah. Again, it's not every year we could talk about a huge increase in ridership, so.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Thank you. Yes, Councilman Roberto?
Thank you, Mayor. I love the increase in ridership. I think that's fantastic. Have you guys done any calculations on the return on investment with the electric fleet?
We have not
Our
really detailed.
sustainability team does.
But yeah, the sustainability has. Typically what you're going to see is a very large upfront cost, but there's going to be savings, pretty large savings, return on investment after 7 years.
But a lot of that is federally funded.
It is.
And then the rest that we fund, the difference between buying a conventional bus and an electric bus, we can have a tax credit for, or we don't pay federal taxes, so it's direct pay is what they call it, assuming that doesn't change.
And there's also, again, return on investment on the operating side too, because there's a lot less parts that you're not doing as much preventive maintenance in terms of changing out oil filters and whatnot with that vehicle, that you're going to save money in the long run.
And fluctuations in fuel costs.
Correct.
I assume goes in that too. That makes sense. So you just go on to the federal issue that the mayor brought up. So would it be correct to say that about 38% of your operations budget is dependent on federal funding?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And then the last part was, obviously, Knoxville taxpayers, just like was discussed, don't need to be supporting other municipalities with regard to ridership, but if we had that expanded ridership, there would be more federal money available potentially.
Yeah, with a local share from those municipalities.
Has there been any discussion with any of the localities? Because, like the mayor mentioned, we did have somebody come and talk the other night, but we've heard this before. There are parts of the area where there are jobs and people are trying to get to them. Have there been any attempts to reach out to those municipalities and say, hey, we can partner on this, but you're going to have to get involved, this is what it looks like?
There hasn't been any conversations. There was a little bit when TPO did the original study on transit and was talking to different municipalities, Oak Ridge and others, about, this is what transit could look like in your community. But no one ever reached out and said, hey, we're really serious and interested in this and coming up with money to pay for it.
So TPO already did that,
Yeah.
didn't get any.
Yeah, Councilman, there's been very little appetite for folks to take operating property tax dollars to support expansion. There was a previous relationship we had out in the county, Deep Farragut, and that required some operating dollars, and that went away a few years ago.
That was under Mayor Ragsdale.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
But we can,
Always
I mean,
open.
what's changed a lot since those days is the labor market. And like employers want the people who live in the city of Knoxville to come work in their businesses. So maybe as part of that, we could initiate a new conversation at TPO. All three of us are on the TPO. We could, ask them to survey the members of TPO and just say, here's what it would cost and here's what it could bring you for 5 trips a day, whatever. And I'm guessing the answer will still be like, thanks, but no, we want this, but we want it only for free. But maybe the answer will be different.
It might be different.
Yeah.
There has been some growth and some change in that time.
Yeah, and I believe the partnership we had with Farragut was a commuter service that we ran from Super Shuttle, basically.
Super Shuttle.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. All right, we're going to take a break.
Yeah, next thing we got some law department.
All right. Ooh, that's over here. All right. I'm ready if you guys are.
All right, we're ready.
Okay. Okay.
We're here on behalf of the law department, and looking at my page here, there's not a lot to say. So what I would like to say, given the opportunity, is that I have recently been brought up to date on the fact that the years are passing rapidly. It's 2025.
Is today your birthday?
Tomorrow.
No.
Tomorrow.
No, tomorrow.
Okay, well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Speaking of passage of time. I mean, no, we all want to have more birthdays.
Well, what that means is I have now been practicing law for 46 years.
Wow.
And in that 46 years, I've had the privilege of working with some really good lawyers over that period of time. All over the city, I've been really lucky to work with a bunch of good lawyers. But I don't think I've ever been more proud of the lawyers that I'm working with right now. We've got 8 real lawyers and me up there, and we're getting the work done. Those lawyers, including our newest lawyers, Anderson Gass and Sanjay Raman, have been real revelations to us about how you think something really bad is happening. We thought something really bad was happening when we lost George to the HR department, and Anderson Gass came in and made us realize that there are other good lawyers out there, and Anderson is one of them, and he's like all of them. They are working very hard, they are really smart, they are really diligent, and they care about getting done what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and I'm proud of them for that. And I want to thank you all, then the administration, for making it possible for them to do the work that they need to do. We know that it's not always easy to provide what's needed for a department to get its work accomplished, and we know that you have lots of requests from lots of areas. I can tell by voices hang-dog look that too many people are asking for too much money. What we're asking for is a law clerk. And we think that we can be more efficient. We think those lawyers who are working so hard would be very much benefited by the addition of a law clerk to our group. And so we have asked for that. And that's really the only change that we've made, other than just the normal, the cost of doing legal research goes up, and we have to give the annual raise to our lawyers and stuff like that. But beyond that, we don't have any changes in our budget request.
Okay.
This would be a part-time, so we're permanent part-time. So.
Permanent part-time position without benefits.
Right.
Okay.
And we are available to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, I'll just say that we really appreciate all the work the law department does. It's a high volume and very intense work, and there's been numerous times where, there comes a time where I'm like very thankful that the contracts have been written in a very a good way that gives us the flexibility we need to just take care of the city's business. And that goes not just for contracts, but obviously litigation and advice on, pending legislation that could affect us one way or the other. So, not to mention just the routine stuff, particularly police, fire, engineering, just a ton of activity in our city, and that affects the law department's work too. So very grateful, and I agree. Like that, the George's change from law to HR was met with some trepidation, but it's good to know that there are there are other great lawyers out there who are willing and able to come work for the city. So we're grateful for George's role in HR, and he did a great job when he was with the law department.
But if George wants to go somewhere, just don't tell him yes.
Anyhow, but it's great to have the new lawyers on board too. So
Charles, how's the new relationship with? I mean, obviously the Judge Kavanaugh's provided a position control number PCN over law. We hired somebody to be really focused. That seems like it's going really well.
Yeah, Sanjay Raman.
That was the right move, right?
Is now the sort of permanent prosecutor for those cases
Litigating.
where city the city needs to be represented, whether it's codes violations, whether it's motor vehicle violations, whatever it may be. Sanjay sort of makes sure when the city needs to be represented by council. Not all cases over there need to have city representation.
Yeah.
But for the cases that do need that representation, Sanjay's doing a great job with that. He's also doing a great job working with the judge, because the judge is coming into a new situation, a new location and a new situation, and trying to put together a court that operates the way he wants it to work. And obviously changes need to be made, and I think that Sanjay is working together with Ron and others to make sure that the court operates as it should and as efficiently as it should. And there are some efficiencies to be had, and they're working on that.
Yeah, I had lunch with him. He was happy with it. And, you know, there was a little risk there. He had to give a position up, but it seems like it's all worked out, and you've got somebody that can do court plus some other things. So.
I actually met with Sanjay and Judge Cavanis along with the new court administrator last week before, and that confirmed that it's working well.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, and I also appreciate, in addition to the straight up legal stuff with litigation and contracts, you guys provide counsel on any number of things that, you know, have legal implications, but, you know, are not like a pending legal matter, and that's very valuable too.
We're full of opinions.
Well, but they're good opinions sometimes. I don't always agree, but
Yeah, I know.
I always.
I'm well aware of that.
Well, my predecessor gave me a good, well, I think it's good advice. She said, always listen to your lawyers and engineers, but the decisions are up to you.
Yeah.
So that's good advice, but I do always listen. So thank you very much. We will take this into account as we develop the budget. We
Thank you very
appreciate it. Yep. Thank you. Risk and benefits. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. We're already almost back on track.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good to see you all.
I brought with me Andy Hudson. He is our risk and benefits analyst, newer to the role, and so I thought this would be a good experience for him.
Yeah.
And then you should know Kirk Ryden and Katie Tanner. They're the
Yeah.
risk and benefit managers.
And I'm sorry about the passing of your dad recently. No,
Thank you, Debbie.
yeah. All right, well, let's hear about your requests. I know you got some significant ones here, and would love to hear about the details.
So we have 3 requests here. Deferred comp, Rosetta Stone, and the YMCA. The deferred comp is 3% that we'd like to contribute to people, their 457 plan. So the 457 is outside of pension, and we feel like it could be a really good recruiting tool for us. And
Because it doesn't require vesting.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
Or time, yeah.
Correct.
And what do we contribute now, like $1 or something?
We
like
contribute $10 if they contribute 20, so the match would be $260 a year. And this proposal is simply that, a proposal. And what I tried to do is just use some logic. So like, we currently accrue leave at year 3, 7, and 12. And so I used those markers as contribution increases to the deferred comp. So at year 3, we would do 1%. If they're contributing 1%, we could do 1%. If they're contributing 2%, we could do 1%. So like the world's really our oyster, but our money would be 1% at year 3, 2% at year 7, and then at year 12 it would be 3%. It would only impact those who are on our new pension system, so people who are hired after 1/1/2013. And the average amount was around $400,000.
And so Mayor, this is part of this broader strategy that you've asked the team to look at, which is we want to be a model employer. How do we recruit and retain? One of the bigger issues we found, just recruiting at all levels, I mean, Grant's a good example. He's like, hey, what's the 401k match? I'm like, well, we don't have 401k. we have 457, and it's $10 for the first 20. And he's like, really? And then, this longer vesting period. So we know that our old system was designed for the old pension system. So for folks in the future, we've got to look at it. And we still need to dig in on the numbers with finance and do some analysis of it. But we know there's got to be something in the budget to help grow, because we got to recruit and retain people, and this is part of it. Salaries, benefits, and this is a piece of it.
Correct.
I think this is also an acknowledgement, we have a great pension system, and obviously we want folks to come work for the city and stay for 30 years, but the reality is a lot of folks are coming to work for the city, and they may only be with us for
5 years,
7 years, 6 years, 3 years. And that's okay. How do we offer competitive benefits for that window? And, our current pension system doesn't really have much for the, folks don't stay 10 years. It's not a pension, it's not even it's just a savings account.
It's a savings account.
It's a savings
account.
Yeah. You don't lose your money.
You don't lose it, but it's a savings account.
But, yeah.
Again, looking at what the market, other private sector.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you looking into this. I appreciate the big strides we've made just in the last, 3 months, with the paid family leave and tuition and the bereavement adjustments, and that's all been really huge. And a lot of times new hires, at least entry-level new hires, don't think about the benefits, but when you talk to people who've been here a few years or longer, particularly, if they've been sick or if they have, then they really do brag on our benefits, and they know that other employers, even other public sector employers, don't offer as good benefits. But it's not something people always realize until they
need
use
it.
them.
Yep, that's right. We had an employee tell us recently they were on the federal plan, and they recently came over to our plan 1/1/2025 and just went on and on about how he couldn't believe how much we paid, and had no issues with any of their benefits. So it was really exciting to hear.
Yeah, it's great. So tell us about the Rosetta Stone benefit.
Rosetta Stone came to us from the fire department, and we thought this could be a benefit we could offer citywide. So someone had called upon the fire department to look into learning another language, and we thought this was something that we could really do across the board. And so this, I may have to let Katie talk about the amount, but they've got different levels. So there's like a bronze level, a silver level, and a gold level. And depending on the level determines whether or not, how
Group.
yeah, whether or not you get group or like how much training you actually get. So there's online learning, and then there are group sessions. And so we've asked for a handful of group sessions and then a breadth of online sessions. And we want to kind of put our toe in the water, see if we get a good benefit. Employees appreciate this as a benefit, and then
To learn a foreign language?
Yeah.
Okay. So is it sort of like Duolingo, but a different platform?
Yes. And the fire department seemed really interested in it, and we thought the rest of the city may enjoy it as well. So,
especially since most of them out in the public may encounter people who don't speak English, so it'd be great for them.
Yeah.
Is this, when I think about a benefit, it's like, is this something the mayor can be like, hey, as we go into the next budget, anyone can have access to Rosetta Stone? How would it be? Does that make sense? If it's a
100
benefit?
bronze license. Does that
That's
mean
right.
only 100 could do it?
Correct. And if we see people aren't utilizing it, we could remove them or whatever, and then apply it to somebody else.
So this would be like a first come, first serve.
Yeah.
But it's 100 at a time. It's
Correct.
not 100 total per year.
Okay. So like at 8 p.m.
right.
on Wednesday night, no more than 100 could come, but the next night it could be 100 different people.
Well, it's 100 licenses.
Yeah, it's licenses.
But
Well, just
if
how we
somebody
communicate it, yeah.
gets interested and they only work it for 3 months and they drop off, we can take their license and give it to somebody else.
Okay, it'd be good to just think about how we communicate
Yeah.
it, so.
Well, and there's some things like this that are, I have to use Duolingo, it's it's free. It's not the fancy kind, but anyhow, this is better, apparently,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on some ride-alongs with police and fire where they encounter people in a car crash or whatever who don't speak English, and using Google Translate in the middle of an emergency, It's not so easy. It's better than nothing, but, yeah, okay. Well, good ideas.
And the Y, we are really interested in a partnership with the Y, and right now we offer a 50% discount for our employees to attend the Y, but we thought maybe it was something we could do for free. So we want to meet with the Y and see like how much that this could really cost us. I mean, there obviously could be like a really big cost, but we think we could come up with a partnership.
Yeah, we saw, the mayor and I were having lunch, bumped into Matt Ryerson yesterday,
Perfect.
who's the new executive director. And I think employees, the mayor wants to be this to be the employer of choice in our region, but also how do we keep people healthy? And could we just offer that as a benefit? What would that cost? And at the same time, support a nonprofit that is in multiple parts of the city, outside the city too. So, anyway, that's what it's about. Got to figure out what the total is, though.
Yeah, but I think we could negotiate a good deal, and also, I mean, I don't know how we would gauge whether it saves us money in, healthcare costs down the road. I mean, that's sort of hard to gauge, but seems like a good investment.
Absolutely.
So about of 240 employees have a family membership, or just like. Right now, the benefit is just for the employee, or it can be for family?
Yeah, it can be for family too.
I think,
I
think that's what I'm using.
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
Yeah, I was like, it's really cheap.
It's about
It's like,
30s.
I think
I feel like
it's
for
like 20,
families in the
25,
30s or
35.
Was that 35? Yeah, family membership, $35, and
Then
I
if
think
you're
that-
over a certain age too,
If
there's
you're over 55, it's less.
Yeah.
That's a good
Silver
deal.
sneaker.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
I'm not there yet, but.
And when you look at, we're trying to add, all the fire stations have quality workout equipment. The new police, public safety has a really nice gym. General government employees could have access to memberships, and anybody could. So that's the idea. We just got to figure out what the actual cost is.
Okay. Love it. Well, keep up the great work. These are good requests. We'll see what the available revenues are, but I really do appreciate the progress we've made, even in the middle of a budget year, to make some, I mean, they didn't even end up costing that much, the paid family leave.
Right.
I'm so glad we went forward with it as we have, because I think that could help a lot with retention and maybe recruitment too.
Yep.
We're
already getting a lot of requests for it. I think we have 30 requests in the book for paternity leave already, so that's exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. We want happy employees, so they'll stay. So, okay. Well, thanks so much. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, we're just really, really grateful for the support that we have.
Yeah.
For what
good.
we do. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. All right.
And they're
Well,
very
thanks.
hospitable to Knoxville.
She's
Oh, right. Yes. Thanks for allowing policy to join you. I've seen, the sixth floor, it seems like there's progress being made up there. So, right, boys?
There is.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, awesome.
On time and under budget, right?
Are they actually in the office much, Christine? Do you see?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Sometimes Cheryl locks herself out and I gotta let her back in.
I'm not great about carrying my bag. I'm trying. I didn't want, council days were, because I come up for dinner.
They shut the door. I know.
And I'm getting better. I didn't lock myself out.
We're glad to have you.
Well, appreciate all your hard work. It really is important to retention and recruitment and just, doing the right thing for people. So I love some of these ideas, and we'll see if we have the funds to move forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. We've got... Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Is everybody ready to get started? Deputy Chief McHale is joining us.
So good
Yeah,
to be here.
yeah, welcome.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I guess they put you to work right away. You're not even on the payroll yet, but all right. Well,
He's here to help us lobby for more money.
He's going to learn a valuable lesson.
well, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the city of Knoxville. We can't wait to have you join us officially. But Chief Noel, I'm ready to hear your pitches.
Okay, great. I have a lot of pitches lined up, so you guys have a lot of time. So Chief Paul, if I get off schedule, I know you guys have a book right here. First one we do is crime scene tech, is that correct?
No,
Co-response, okay, we're going with
the operating first.
Operating first.
Yes, sir.
So the first one we have teed up is our co-response program. So this is something that is obviously, we absolutely believe in. It's been, I think, a major part of the way the culture change at the Knoxville Police Department. We respond to hundreds of calls involving people that are in some form of mental crisis, some form of addicted to opioids or some type of mental illness going on. And to have a co-responder team, which is a trained CIT police officer teamed up with a clinician from Helen Ross McNabb, has really been a game changer for us. Almost no uses of force involving our co-response team, and since inception, less than 3% of the calls we go on with the co-response team involve an arrest.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Webster Bailey last night. He was telling me how not only the co-response team, but our officers being around the co-response team are really allowing more and more people to see the benefits of bringing people who are suffering from opioid addiction to the Gateway Center for Metro Drug Coalition. So it's really catching on. So the first request we have on the operating side is the expansion of our co-response team from 4 teams to 6 teams. We have already started that right now of expanding to 6 teams now based upon some leftover money we've had in this budget, and we really hope to be able to continue that in the upcoming fiscal year.
And that's staffed out on the McNabb side and the police side right now?
Absolutely. So McNabb, what they did was they increased the salary for their clinicians to make sure that they'll always have clinicians stacked up. And we have 4 teams carded right now, and we're ready to, we're in the process actually now of expanding to 6 teams right now.
Yes, sir.
We're ready to go.
And
So
the funding
no
that was
doubt we'll fill that.
the funding that was at council a couple of weeks ago was basically get us through this fiscal year. This carries it on into the next fiscal year, right?
Yes.
So we renewed the contract.
We
That's
renewed
what
the
we did.
contract, we were able to cover the expansion.
Yes.
Through this fiscal year.
But we need to fund
Vacancy
it.
We gotta fund the expansion through the next fiscal year.
Correct.
That's what the
Yes.
440 is,
Yes.
okay.
But the piece with that contract though was making sure McNabb was gonna be able to have the employees
Yeah.
Right.
to staff
Increase
that
the cost
and
of
all
the McNabb contract, which is separate from KPD, but,
that. Sure.
yeah, I hear nothing but good things, but about the people who work with or are helped by co-response team, both people in crisis and their families. Really grateful to have this co-response as another tool.
And the other officers see that, they see the
Yeah.
benefits of it, and that really helps spread culture change throughout the whole organization.
Great, okay.
Recruit stuff next?
Recruit gear.
Recruit gear, so one of the few downsides of us being able to hire so many people is we're really starting to run out of the equipment for our new recruits to come out. So we're graduating 12 people tomorrow. We have 40 people in our academy right now. In our January class, we're interviewing 57 for our May class, and we hope to be interviewing even more than that for our September class that we'll have this year. But with that becomes the equipment that our officers, our new recruits, when they come out, they will need. So they will need a uniform, leather gear, ballistic vests, riot helmets, gas masks, firearms, tasers, additional in-car printers. So this is the money that we will need to make sure that these officers, the new recruits, are kitted out for when they hit the street.
I didn't know, in-car printers? I didn't-
Yes, that's for the traffic citations.
Citations, yeah.
The citations that we have. So we do the electronic citations now. We still do, for state court, we still do the big carbon paper misdemeanor citations, but for city court, we do an electronic citation, which has to be printed out and then presented to the individual.
Can I add just one thing? So typically our budget is budgeted for one recruit academy. It takes right at $175,000 just to equip the officer before he even hits the street, before he gets a car, before he gets cameras in the car, before he gets printers and all that. So what we are doing this year, we'll have 3 academies, plus on top of that, we'll have 3 lateral classes as well. So this is just to stop the gap. Now, if you do the math, taking that $175,000, you put it to what I just told you, your math's not going to equal up. And the reason it's not going to equal up is because we resalvaged some of the stuff, so it'll be a little cheaper than what it was. But that's the cost with what we've got on hand now in supply and what we need moving forward. This is the cost here for the additional funding is the $456.
So this gear, they, when they graduate, they take it with them. It becomes their gear, or is it just for when you're in the
Well, it's
academy?
both. So you've got recruit uniforms. They have a special uniform they wear, but the majority of it, like their ballistic vests, the ballistic helmets, the firearms, the gas masks, they'll move with them once they
Okay.
go into patrol.
The third one, flock cameras, and Chief
Yes, sir.
Cook is prepared to speak about that.
So this, on the flock cameras, in essence, the company is increasing their annual fee by $500 per camera, so the additional funding is needed to keep that service. It's going from $73,000 a year to $87,500. So we would need that additional $14,500 in order to continue using the flock cameras.
This is just a current contract that has an escalator that needs to be covered, and that's currently funded up to set amount, but now there's an increase. I
Yes.
got it. Okay.
Do we actually have a contract on that?
It's year to year we renew.
Okay.
Same thing with the gray key.
So with the gray key, this is the one that we actually purchased on capital funding a couple of years ago. We had submitted that back in '22. We were able to get the gray key. This is for licensing. When we did our capital funding request, we had added the reoccurring cost onto the capital request, but didn't realize we were supposed to put it on an additional funding request. So this past year, we were able to find funding through the VCIF grant to pay for that additional licensing year, but of course that grant is going away after June of this year. So we would need the additional $55,000 to continue with the licensing.
Can you tell me a little bit about the VCIF grant, why it's going away? What does it stand for?
That's the Violent Crime Intervention Fund. That is a 3-year grant that we received from the state, from the governor's office, that has paid for a lot of upgrades with our forensics unit and that sort of thing. Violent
And
crime.
is there, I mean, was there an opportunity to apply for another one? They just stopped doing it?
So we talked to the governor's office. They're in talks of doing this, not this year, maybe hopefully next year, but right now it's just in talks. There is no guarantee that they do. A lot of departments want it. It was a big boost. We got $3 million something off of it, which is actually paying for our Axon, most of our Axon system. Well, not most, a good chunk of it. So we would love for them to do it, but the governor's office will not come out and say, hey, we're going to do this for sure. And if they did, it would be the 26-27 before they got it out.
Okay.
So this is it's not an increase in the number of gray key devices.
License renewals.
It's just to keep the one that we've got operational.
Correct.
So it's $55,000 for 1 year for one license?
Yes, and we had bought the actual machine and computer and stuff from the Capitol year before last.
It's a pretty hefty fee for one.
It
But
is, but
it sounds like it's
very
very
beneficial.
useful.
It's extremely useful, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's critical. It would be very difficult for us to operate without it. There's only a couple companies doing this. It's a very, it's not like the technology, like once it's made, like it's done, it's constantly evolving because the encryption technology on the other side of it is always evolving as well. So there's a lot of money and research that needs to go into this.
All right.
And I think Chief Powell's got the bomb X-ray machine.
Smart Ray Vision.
So the Smart Ray Vision system, what this basically boils down to is as technology advances, the EOD advances as well. The name of the game is to try to be able to view something, X-ray something, whatever it may be, without sending a tech downrange. You do that with robots. So the problem is what KPD is experiencing. Obviously, we talked about in capital campaigns about a robot, but then our X-ray source goes back just as old. Currently, what we have to do now, if we're going to go down and X-ray a package, it takes a tech to walk down. You put a source down, you put an imager to the back of it, you hit the button, take the source, you go back down, pick the source up, bring it, develop the film in the truck, and then transfer that over to a laptop and review what you got. Fast forward 10 years in today's time, this source image it can be taken down by a robot, you set it behind it, back your robot up, shoot it, and then you, from an iPad, you sit and look at it all day from that imager in the back. It sends messages back to the truck. So this, obviously, what we have works, it's just not efficient, and obviously, for instance, on the dynamite that we just experienced, if we would have had this, we would have never had to send a tech down. We could have sent the robot, set that back, and set back at the truck and viewed the image the whole time. So just a tool that's part of the technology growth in EOD that saves that tech from having to go down on the stream.
Yeah,
So it's capital or operating? I mean, it sounds like capital, but.
Well, the 6,000, we put the robot in the capital. This will still, all you're buying is a back piece. It'll still work with our source that we got.
But you don't have, we won't have to pay for it every year?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It
All right.
It'd be one time.
10,000.
Oh, since it's under 10, okay. But it's non-recurring.
Anytime we don't have to send an officer in harm's way to, you know, to do something, especially with explosives, it's ideal for us not to have them when it can be hurt. All right, mental health and wellness.
So this is in regards to our wellness program that KPD has been trying to expand. Brick Bagley currently has a contract with us in order to provide mental health services. She provides those services to our law enforcement officers and our professional staff as part of that wellness program. She does these services in person. She can do them on-site at the police department. She can do them off-site if they prefer to do something at her office. She does telehealth. She also works closely with our ICAC unit. Currently, this contract is being funded through the wellness grant that is set to expire September the 30th of this year. So our hopes would be that we could renew a contract with her going forward and continue providing those services once that wellness grant is gone. Over the last just 10 months, she has averaged 34 hours per month with individual counseling. Her client list has grown 4 to 5 new clients per month. So everybody has really started to take to going to see her like it's being more accepted for our law enforcement officers.
That's good. Chief Coker, the wellness grant, was that federal, state, and can we reapply, and or why? Are there, it sounds like a great investment, but if we can get it grant funded, that would be even better.
We did apply for the wellness grant recently and was not selected for that. This one is 100% federal funding. So I don't know, right now the federal grants, they're coming down very slowly after they're being looked at closely. So I don't know when that next opportunity will be.
Yeah, this is something at some point we probably gonna have to really start looking at about expanding. I mean, it's just great that more and more officers are taking advantage of this, and we want them to, right? You know, we want to make sure that, you know, this job can be, you know, a very traumatic job. It's a stressful job when you're working shift work and you're working nights, you're working weekends, you're working around the clock, so that they have, you know, people like Brooke Bagley available to interact with the officers, I think really helps us and probably saves us some money in the long run as well with, you know, not having officers that decide they can't do the job anymore.
Okay.
What do we have left?
That's been in place about a year, you said, or a year, or?
No, she's been.
Or just since September?
We've had back-to-back.
It's been, I think, 18 months.
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And before that, we had nobody but either the, you know, your health
EAP.
insurance or like the center, yeah.
EAPs, yeah.
EAP stuff.
May of '24 is when it.
The concept was you have a public safety specific mental health professional available basically at all hours.
And, you know, and the beauty is too, you know, one of the reasons that, like, an inhibitor for people not wanting to take advantage of these services, they don't trust the individual, it's different people, and they've gotten to know Brooke, they see Brooke around the building all the time, they build a rapport with her, so then somebody finally gets the courage to go see her, then they tell other people, look, I went and saw Brooke, it wasn't that bad. Now, we're really starting to get that momentum from that.
And she's somewhere in the building, you have like a little It's like
Yes, she has office.
counselor's office, right?
She has office in the public safety complex, yes, which is great, which is great.
That helps too.
It does.
Ease of convenience. You're just at work, you'll go see her at work. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the best part is building that trust.
Good.
And what we got left, Virtua?
Virtua.
Let me take that one. So on the Virtua system, this was a piece of equipment that we bought, and I think we had several demonstrations. It's over $200,000 piece of equipment we bought with a de-escalation grant that was received last year. Actually, it was multiple years ago, but we finally got it purchased last year. So what the problem is, it gave us, with that purchase, it gave us a warranty, 1-year warranty. To purchase the 2nd-year warranty, the grant obviously won't do it because it's reoccurring, so the grant won't help us out there. Not a huge, not a detrimental ask, but it is a very heavy technology system that if something did go wrong, the warranty is well needed if any of the pieces of technology, something went awry there. So
The warranty for 1 year is $28,000?
yes, ma'am.
It's a firearm simulator. It takes up a whole
room.
I mean, it's bigger than this room.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's full of cameras, electronics, lighting, everything to light up, and projectors as well. So it's very technology heavy, and that's the reason for the hefty yearly fee.
This was the system that Grant Rosenberg was considering building a building out inside of our multi-purpose room out at the range. And we decided that we were going to fit it in on our training floor in the shell space. So we outfitted the shell space. It takes up almost like half the shell space.
What is that?
Do we need to get into why we moved it?
Long story.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. This was, I remember, I think I used this old system out at the...
The FATS machine.
Yeah.
Is what you used.
I guess.
This is a wraparound.
360.
Bigger than this room, 360. So you go in it, and there's wraparound screens. So it absolutely feels lifelike. So when you go do the school shooting simulation, you will feel a hair stand up on the back of your neck. It feels absolutely real.
And then you can go see the counselor.
Absolutely.
This was going to be a capital project over at the training facility. They
We
found
did
a
it cheaper.
space that was
Did it
much
cheaper.
more cost effective to do it existing.
Just because we're always looking to save grant money.
Police department is just
Always saving money.
responsible stewards of your taxpayer dollar.
Okay.
Not there.
So, but okay. All right. I'd like to see it. I don't think
We'd
I've
love
seen
you to
it.
see it. We'd love you to come use it. I mean, it really is. It really is a state-of-the-art system. It really is.
It's been in place about a year, you said?
Look, we'll come up on a year. Coming up on a year.
Okay.
It's on the other side of where the real-time information center is in the shell space.
Okay.
Um,
Food.
We're not messing with that. We're going to crime scene tech is next.
Okay. We're going to
Yes,
personnel.
I'll remove that one.
Well, it's fine. We're looking at how do we utilize a more comprehensive model? Because there are departments that end up needing to buy occasionally food, but we're looking at, is there a better way to do that more equitably? And so we're going to work on that.
I appreciate your help with that.
And I apologize, that one shouldn't have went through. That's on me.
I'll scold him for that already, man.
All right.
All right, let's talk about crime scene techs. So right now, we have 12 crime scene techs, but we have 3 crime scene techs that are on a grant. That grant sunsets on June 30th, so we're really coming up to the deadline on that. Right now, our crime scene techs work 7 a.m. to 3 a.m., so we have about 20-hour-a-day coverage 7 days a week. So when you do the math on that, with 12 techs spread out 7 days a week for 20 hours, we really only have about, we're lucky if we have, 2 techs working at any given time. If we were going to work a murder, if we're going to work a shooting, we need to have a minimum of 2 techs to be able to work that scene. So when this grant sunsets and we go down to 9, we're really going to be in a place where we're going to have to decide, are we going to reduce our coverage of our crime scene techs, which is really not desirable at all. If your house is broken into, if you're a victim of a crime, we'll have no way to process that crime scene. The reason we kind of got in this boat is what KPD used to do was use uniformed personnel to be crime scene techs. which is really not ideal because you have a highly paid, highly trained police officer with all of this equipment to go perform the duties of a police officer, when really they're taking photographs, they're lifting fingerprints, they're collecting blood, they're collecting DNA, they're sketching these crime scenes. So best practices have really now shown that it's best to have highly trained civilian personnel in these jobs. So what KPD has done is, as these trained police officers have retired, they have not replaced them, and we've replaced them with civilian crime scene technicians. But if we lose these 3, we go down to 9, we're really going to be in a really, really tough spot.
And this 169 is for 3 positions, that's salary and benefits?
What's the salary for a crime scene tech? About
43.4 plus your benefits, which is about 30%, give or take.
And the $43,000 a year salary is not ideal, but that's a conversation for another day. But it's much cheaper than having a police officer do that work. I would much rather have a uniformed police officer out on the street doing traffic enforcement, doing narcotics enforcement, answering calls for service, than walking around with a crime scene kit processing crime scenes.
Are they actually like at work these 20 hours, or some are just on call?
No, they're at work. So they're at work. We have teams that work around the clock, 20 hours a day, processing violent crime scenes, processing scenes of if there's a suicide, we believe it's a suicide. We don't really know the results of that until the autopsy is complete, so we go work those cases. A lot of times just like we would work a murder. Same thing with burglaries. When you have a property crime, a burglary, your car's been broken into, your house has been broken into. Really, the only way we solve those cases is by collecting forensic evidence, whether it's DNA, whether it's latent prints, or other type of evidence. And the crime scene techs are the ones that are trained to do that.
Okay.
And sometimes in their off time too, and I'll add to that, Chief, where break-ins happen overnight, somebody needs to go and collect that video, and so they do that during the day. They're going to multiple businesses, whatever, collecting the videos to put it back in and get to the investigator as well.
Okay.
So the next one is the audio video technician. So the same thing here, we have an audio video technician that's on a grant which expires June 30th. They do a lot of work. The audio visual title really doesn't do their job description justice. One of the things they do that's really important is they prep the video when we have an officer involved shooting. Now, thank God we don't have that many, but when they do that, that's a lot of redaction they need to do to be able to go in and get some of those videos released as quickly as possible. I'm really proud since I've been here, we've released video in every officer involved shooting, critical incident, or in custody death within less than 10 days. And sometimes the holdup is actually going in and doing those video redactions. When they do those redactions, they actually have to go in frame by frame and do those redactions. It's a very cumbersome process, especially when you have, sometimes you'll have an incident with 3, 4, 5 different officers with different angles of body-worn camera video. Another thing that they do is they do the maintenance on our in-car camera system and our body-worn camera system. These systems that we have with the in-car camera system, you remember, so the in-car camera, we have a camera that faces the front, out of the front window. We also have a camera in the back prisoner area of our cruisers. For our prisoner wagons, we have multiple cameras in those. Was it three cameras in the prisoner area of our prisoner wagons, and our body-worn camera systems as well. We frequently run into issues with a body-worn camera or an in-car camera where a file might be corrupted, there's something wrong with the system. If that does not get corrected, an incident could happen and there will be no body-worn camera video. So having those technicians on site to be able to do the maintenance on these video systems are critical. They also handle all of the FOIA requests that we get for in-car camera video, body-worn camera video, the requests that we get for video for the district attorney's office. They deal on site with the laptops that we have, the in-car printers that we have. Each one of our marked cruisers has an in-car printer for our citations. Those things are very temperamental, so they do the maintenance on those. And they are going to be helping with the lead of our the integration to our new Axon records management system as well.
With all this automation and tech, I mean, are some of these big investments we're making on those systems can defray the need for labor?
So,
you would think, I mean, they're with.
so like, you know, these systems are great, they're very efficient, but if you don't have someone on the back end, when a camera system goes down, to be able to go in immediately and get that back up, we have to take either decision that we have to make is we take that cruiser off the street, or it goes out without video rolling, which we can't happen. So one of the downsides of having all this technology, which is great, but technology does have issues, and you have computers that have issues from time to time. When we put out 130 plus cars on the street that all have body-worn camera, in-car camera, mobile data terminals, a cell site to be able to run this, the in-car printers. We need someone on site to be able to do that troubleshooting to make sure we can keep that equipment on the street.
And I would just like to add that this unit only has 2 techs besides the grant person who's there now, so they have 2 techs and a supervisor. So with all this work, I mean, it's a lot for them, and they're also helping the fire department with programming their radios.
Is that like a one-time thing, the fire department thing? That's ongoing, they just reprogram them all the time?
Yeah.
You're always dealing with radios, they just never.
It's a lot of it. Really, it is. I tell you, when in my last job down in New Orleans, I supervised this, and I really thought that this was a lot of hooey, and you go spend some time down there, and they're working around the clock doing this type of thing.
It's like we have a whole IT department.
Well, you think of all the technology, we have a lot of technology we have out there, and when this technology goes down, if we don't get it back up immediately, we're either taking equipment off the street, or we putting the officer out there without the equipment. And imagine if we have a use of force, or officer about shooting, and we come out and say, well, we didn't have video because the system was, a piece of equipment was not functioning properly. That's just not something that we could do.
Are you all tracking? I mean, I love all these grants, but then they keep running out, and if we're not able to find renew those grants or whatever, then I mean, there's never going to be a time we're like, well, this grant was good, and now we don't want to keep doing this. I've never heard anybody say that. So, do you keep track of? I mean, I know the answer is hopefully yes, but like, how many? Like, there's a lot of grants running out all at once.
Chief Coker's got a great sheet right here. I think I got one in my packet. It is a lot. It is a lot of grants. And sometimes what happens, here it is right here. This is all the active grants that we're working now. And with some of these things.
Because if they all ran out all at once, I mean, we can't can't absorb all of this.
Sure.
I mean.
And some of this is, when we get this new technology, like let's go back to the body-worn cameras, the in-car cameras, and you think of all of the technology that's in a police car. When I came on the job, a police car, the only thing we had in it was what we call the good time radio, which was the AM FM radio. Now you have a mobile data terminal that is connected to the dispatch system, and it's a link to all of these different systems that we have. We have a GPS system in the vehicle. We have the body-worn camera, and the body-worn camera uploads from the car itself. So when the body-worn camera video is recorded, it's uploading from the car through a cell service. We have 2 in-car cameras. We have the printer for the citation system. What else do we have in there?
But a lot of this is already moved to the general fund, right?
It is, yes, but sometimes what happens when we get these new systems, we will get someone on a grant to help get it going, just like with the wellness grant. The purpose of the wellness grant was, with the federal government, is for us to get this started and hopefully have the government entity continue, because it is something that is really, really important to do. Same thing with all of this. It's really designed to make sure that police departments have the support to be able to support this technology, but at some point, we either need to, not have the technology, or decide that we want to pay to have the support to keep this equipment.
And we were able to secure a couple of the folks that were on that same grant in our CGIC grant that we received recently. on the Nobbins side, because that was more focused that way, so.
On the what side?
On the Nobbins, the firearms
The
stuff.
ballistic side.
Okay.
ballistic analysis.
So we are constantly looking for grants to
Yeah.
continue those services.
Well, I know you just, one of your best grant writers recently retired, so I hope we are able to find a good successor for that role, because I mean, yeah, okay.
The next one, the police curriculum administrator, this is the position I'm just giddy about, right? So you've heard me speak about this a lot. I think I spoke about this at the budget retreat. So this is something I believe is a big missing piece of KPD. So what this position is this is a professional educator that will work in our training academy. You know, when you think of our training academy is really like a community college, right? We have training for new police officers, we have training for new cadets, but we also have annual training that all of our police officers need to go through, and we also have specialized training for our officers who work in highly specialized fields, DUI, interview and interrogation, just to name a few. And what we do in policing, which I think is really a flawed logic, is we take a police supervisor and we say, all right, Chief Coker, you're now the training director. And then 2 years later, we say, all right, Chief Powell, you're now the training director. And we rotate these different individuals through who have no experience in training. In addition to that, at KPD, one of the things that I absolutely believe in is I want us to shift to an adult learning model, right? Not train like we're going into Army boot camp. We should be training like young men and women learn at community college, at other advanced training. So this position would hire a professional educator, someone master's level that's working in a community college or a four-year college, and they would be tasked with developing, implementing, and managing all of these different training programs I talked about, but also equally as important, making sure we're training for the mission. Right now, one of the things we're trying to do is have our officers engage in problem-solving policing, engaging with the community. Well, are we training that way? Does our training, does our policies, does our practices, do our procedures all line up? And that's what this person would do. And I really believe in this. I really do believe it's the future of policing, and I believe that this is going to be a game changer for the Knoxville Police Department.
Are you familiar with other departments that have this kind of position that it's not like as an educator whose career's in education rather than a police officer who's been converted to this?
Absolutely. So, the department that I came from previously, long had deployed several, I think 4 professional educators working at the academy doing this type of work. Through the public safety partnership, which Chief McHale is a lead on, we have been able to go to Baltimore, Maryland, which employs this model. We're going to go to Joe's old department in Kansas City, which deploys this model. I've been to Los Angeles and a bunch of other departments that have multiple professional educators. When Lieutenant Adam Mitter, who's our current training director, came back from a site visit at Baltimore, he was impressed at not only the multiple professional educators that they had working in that training academy, but also the attorneys and everywhere else working at training academy. How big did he say that staff was for the academy?
It's 30-something was what their staff was.
In Baltimore?
In Baltimore, yeah. So I know, we're not Baltimore, but the point is that police training has evolved to not just having career police officers who have no education training at all, training the future law enforcement officers. It's really involving having professional educators come, not only train those officers, but again, make sure training, mission, the practices, policy all line up together. So I think this is going to be a huge game changer for the organization, not just for our training, but if we're going to move the culture of the Knoxville Police Department, we need to train to the mission. We need to train to where we're trying to go, and this is going to help us get there.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Family Services.
Family Services Advocate. Okay, so this is, I think I'm going to let Chief Coker take this. This is another grant that's sunsetting.
Okay, so this one is also a position that's funded by our VCIF that sunsets in June of this year. The Family Services Advocate works in our organized crime unit where she is responsible for contacting those individuals, families, next of kin, that sort of thing, for those who have either passed away due to a drug overdose or have had a non-fatal overdose themselves. So she reaches out to them to follow up with offering assistance, trying to provide services, that sort of thing. So she was hired back in August of '24. So in just the 4 months of 2024 that she was on staff, she was able to make 191 contacts with families who had been affected by overdose deaths, and she also had followed up with 71 non-fatal overdoses.
Is this like where she's like notifying them, or it's like counseling?
She is following up after the fact to offer services, not notifications, no.
Okay.
She's kind of the in-between between if the family is trying to get in touch with the investigator and hasn't been able to, they can contact her and she will make sure that that investigator gets in contact, that sort of thing. But she's also attended 12 community events and led 5 support group meetings, just since she was hired in August of '24.
So connecting people to the investigators with KPD, or also like if they didn't die, like to
services
treatment
also.
services?
Yes.
But also, when we have, those overdose deaths, investigations are very, very complex. They're very, very hard to make. So having a rapport and connection with the family is something that's really, really important for us, because it helps us really facilitate the collection of information, which in a lot of cases ultimately will lead us to go arrest a dealer who's running around selling fentanyl. In a lot of cases, fentanyl that's bad, or they should know is bad, and is causing, people who are addicted to drugs to overdose and die.
It may be something too, I think, Fiona, this may be an opportunity for some opioid funds too, because this is probably a lot of that applies, but.
It sounds
you
like
could
it's
get with it,
100%.
You can check with Fiona and see if we've got a little bit that we.
This is stuff we deal with every day. This is stuff we deal with every day, and I wish we didn't have to deal with it.
No, I got it.
But, we deal with this every day, not only from the responding, the uniform officers going out, and the fire department goes on more of these calls that we do, but we have to deal with the back half of it, the investigation. Because if there's a dope dealer that's running out there selling bad dope, we want to make sure we able to lock that individual up, and make sure we held him responsible for the death. Not just make a narcotics case for him, but lock him up for the death, so he never does that again.
Yep.
I never understood why they would want to sell fatal overdoses. I mean, it kills their customers.
You got to take your product and throw it away.
Yeah, they're trying to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, they get that hot dope, and they're moving it, they're selling it, and people are dying. All right, the next one, I'm gonna let Chief Coker take this, but this is the Lakeland Print Examiner. Right now, we have 2, and the critical need with this, and steal Susan's thunder, is they need to check each other's work. So, if we only have 1, then it's literally our program will completely shut down. So it's really important that we have a little redundancy built in, Chief.
So, as the chief said, there is a requirement to have a verification on those prints. It's still, the training for the basic training takes about 6 months for an employee to be able to do some of those verifications. So if we were to lose one of the current 2 that we have, we're looking at 9 to 12 months getting somebody through the hiring process and through the training, and for us to be able to do those.
Is this a sworn position?
No, it's not. We had one of our, prior to having our second person put into the position, we were trying to contract out that verification, which ended up not working very well. It was hard to work with his schedule and get things accomplished. So we had a huge backlog, and then when the second person went in, the first person went on maternity leave, so that set us back another, I think she was gone 4 to 6 months on the maternity leave, so that's another setback. So having that third person is important so we don't have that backlog. We also help with some of the other agencies too, comparing prints in our APHIS, and
Excuse me, what, in our what?
APHIS is it's kind of like, it's the database where all the fingerprints go in, and once, if you've ever been arrested or something like that, your fingerprints are in this database. So
Automatic fingerprint identification system.
So like, other jurisdictions are using our latent print examiners?
Sometimes they will bring them to our
And
examiners.
do they pay for that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
But we get the information as well, which is helpful. This is
Well,
one of the
maybe we
things.
could, I mean, if we're sharing our resources, maybe they can help us pay for this third position. No? I mean,
I don't think it happens
No?
that often enough, and
Oh.
usually it's a good favor for them to pull back from their agency.
I tell you,
Okay.
you know, when I came here new, I was shocked at where we were here, just being completely honest. We have no redundancy built in at all for a department of our size, not to have redundancy built in, because they have to check each other's work. One person is the equivalent of not having anybody. So, you know, we need a minimum, I really do believe we need a minimum of 3 to function. These employees are highly trained. They don't make a lot of money. We could lose one at any moment, and if we only have 2, and we lose one, whether they take another job somewhere else, or if they get hurt, you know, become, you know, pregnant or anything else, we literally will shut down. And for a department of our size not to be able to process fingerprints
how
is
many
really
does
bad.
a peer department have by comparison? I mean,
I would say
Chattanooga.
probably 4. So you have redundancy built, we should have at least 3, so we have some redundancy built in.
If we send them out to TBI, the return rate is about 18 months, according to.
Is this the kind of field that, you know, I would assume, you know, computers and so
A human
forth?
actually has to, so APHIS is the automatic fingerprint locating system. The computer, just like with ballistics, the computer will do the work, but we still actually have a human has to actually take an eyeball and do the work themselves as well. The computer does a lot of work, but a human has to look at it, and then a separate human has to come through and verify that work in order to be successful. Because what you're talking about is, you know, if we make a mistake, what you're saying is, if someone accidentally, your fingerprint accidentally pops up in a case in Connecticut, and someone makes a mistake, we could be getting an arrest warrant for you, or certifying that you were in court convicted of a felony that you weren't. That's why this system is built out the way it is. It's a federal system that the departments operate on all across the country. So you put the prints in APHIS, the computer runs it through, but then a human actually has to go do the work. And then that same human has to go to court to testify that they verified those fingerprints. It's not a sexy part of the job, but it's something that absolutely has. It's a major component of what we do. It's a staple of what we do. You couldn't have a football game if somebody didn't chalk the yard lines on the field. It's basically the same.
Thanks for the football metaphor there.
Yes, ma'am.
I know, really.
Get ready for the.
Baseball, you gotta switch to baseball.
Well, you couldn't have a baseball team if they didn't actually go chalk those lines. Imagine
Okay.
if left field line was all wiggly. That would be terrible.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna quit
Evident-
while I'm ahead. I'll let Chief Paul take the last 2 here.
So the next one is for an evidence custodian, and again, KPD in the past, we've always filled that with uniform officers, and so as these uniform officers started retiring out, we started replacing with civilian personnel. We've been doing that. The last go around, the VCIF was there, so instead of asking for city money, we went and used the VCIF money. Currently, our confiscation is like a large warehouse. We have over 75,000 items in storage. With that, they are constantly doing audits and trying to remove things. Before we left our old place, we were completely out of room in the police department. We had it at Fifth Avenue, we had it at Lake Shore, we had property everywhere. So this go around, I've talked to the Sergeant Davis and told him, let's don't get in that shape again. Let's constantly monitor what we got.
Real quick, the current system, we now have a single location for everything, right?
Yes, we do, in our
In
place.
the public safety
In
complex.
public safety.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. I asked him to hire this individual through VCIF because I don't want to get into the shape where we have to start getting above our doors now, going out to other locations. So they are constantly auditing our inventory constantly and disposing things when it hits certain time limits that we can dispose.
And also, stuff's going to court as
Yes,
well,
stuff's
so it's not like it's just, we're just sitting on it, the stuff's going in and out.
It's like a library.
Kind of both ways, it is. And, but, if a library book gets misplaced, you take a library book and you just go put it on the shelf somewhere else, you'll never find it. So like, we cannot have that happen because of court cases and everything else. So this is something, David, correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't have the civilian person working in there, we'll have to have a uniformed police
We will.
officer.
We will.
We'll have to go in and go do that work.
Yeah, this is a doer. Once this grant runs out again in June, and if we can't renew that position, then we'll absolutely have to have another police officer. There's no way it can work otherwise.
Which I hate to take a cop off the street to do work that a professional staff person could be able to do.
Okay.
The next one is electronic evidence technician. This is a new position we're asking for, and this goes back to the overdose drug task force. As you see there in the narrative, that we confiscate about 268 phones a year. The thing with that, it didn't used to be so bad because you had the old flip phones that had maybe 50 megabytes of storage on it. Was new phones come on board. My son just bought him a new Apple phone. It has 500 gigabytes of storage, and so these gray keys we're having to buy, and as you've seen on the budget last night, we're having to buy hard drives to dump these data down. But not only are we having to buy hard drives, but the time in downloading these through Gray Key, which used to be about 30 minutes to an hour, can go up to 5 and 6 hours now if a phone's fully loaded. So they're constantly running multiple phones a day, and this individual, this position, that would be their sole job. Instead of having an investigator stop his investigating the case, come back and work with these downloads and to watch and see what's downloading. This would be an individual who solely would take all of this on and work with the downloaded phones. New position. Many departments are going this way just because of the increase in the data, what the phones hold, and the time that it's taking to download these phones, which is golden nuggets of information and helps us with each murder, drug overdose case, all of our cases.
So this is a brand new position, it's not grant funded, it'd be just a brand new.
That's correct.
It's an efficiency measure, because right now the case detective has to do it, and so instead of that case detective actively working on investigation, they are, trying to get this information off these phones. So it creates an assembly
But
line.
doesn't the grayscale thing do the work? Or I don't understand.
It unlocks, it's all it does, and then we have to download from
It gets past the encryption, the
Yeah.
individual has to.
Gray Key's sole job is to be able to defeat the encryption. And once the encryption is defeated, then the human has to physically go extract the relevant information that we get from a search, that we ask for a search warrant to retrieve from these phones. So right now, the case detective's doing it. So Chaz Terry's working a murder, and we arrest an individual, and we get his phone, and we get a search warrant for the data within his phone, put it in Gray Key. Gray Key will defeat the encryption. Then Chaz has to go through and extract that data. So instead of working on his murder, he's just sitting there just doing that busy work. So this really does create more of an assembly line process for this, which is incredibly efficient as opposed to having all of these individuals waiting to do this work.
Okay. A lot of things to consider. But,
We're doing great things though, Mayor, so
yeah.
we appreciate, you keep investing in us, we'll return it tenfold.
Okay, thanks so much. I don't have any questions that I haven't already asked. But yeah, we'll see how the revenues unfold and what we have space for. I do think that opioid settlement dollars, should, we don't know exactly how many we'll have. It depends on the courts, but
sure.
To the extent that some of those might cover some of these requests, we'll keep that in mind too.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mayor.
Glad to hear from Chief Compton that the folks we sent up to Tellico Plains are back home safe, and that fire is out. And maybe we'll get a little rain, so it's a little bit of a dangerous time fire-wise here in East Tennessee, so.
Yeah, with the dryness and the low humidity and the high winds, but thankfully that rain has made a difference in
Has it
all of
rained? Or
Yeah, we got some overnight.
a little, okay.
Sprinkling on the way in.
Every bit helps, so. Anyhow, glad we were able to help that way. So, I'm ready to hear your budget requests.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're gonna tag team
Okay.
like usual. So
That's good, that's perfect.
we'll get started with our first request, and Chief Compton has that.
All righty, Mayor. I want to apologize, this may be the longest one of the proposal, so.
It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be.
I'm just throwing out the apology early.
Okay, that means everyone's shorter after this.
Yeah. Our first request is for $239,900 to replace our inventory of our cardiac monitors and convert to a lease program. This pricing is for 6 years with a total of approximately $1.4 million for the life of the contract. The lease program provides 24 advanced cardiac life support monitors and 20 AEDs. In the last 5 years, pricing for cardiac monitors have increased from $28,000 to over $49,000. Due to the significant increase in cost, current 706 replacement funds will only cover half the purchase price for the monitors needing replaced this year and next year. The lease program includes maintenance, inspections, and repairs for both the cardiac monitors and the AEDs. Last year, KFD spent $20,000 in maintenance and repairs for our cardiac monitors, and there have been years where that cost has exceeded $36,000. The lease program also includes battery replacement, which has increased from $363 per battery to $785 per battery over the last 4 years. We replace approximately 1/3 of our nearly 80 batteries each year, which costs $19,000. Continuation of outright purchasing based on scheduled replacement over the next 6 years without the inclusion of unknown inflation, KFD anticipates a minimum expenditure of $1.7 million, which includes the cardiac monitor, batteries, defibrillation pads, inspection, and AED replacement. And these costs can vary. As of July the 1st, the 706 replacement fund will have accumulated $491,318.15 for KFD's entire inventory of cardiac monitors and AEDs. It is important to note that in addition to cost savings, there are other benefits. Price protection, which will allow us to approximate forecast the budget for planning purposes. And the lease will bring about new technology, improve patient care, potentially reduce our liability, and save money over time.
Okay, I'm a little, just to, I mean, there's a lot of numbers and a lot of text.
I threw a pre-warning out.
No, but, you know, you're basically, we have to have these things, and currently we buy them and maintain them ourselves.
That's correct.
And then periodically replace them.
Correct.
And you're suggesting, and again, I'll need some time to sort through these numbers, but, that this annual lease cost of basically $250,000 almost.
Correct.
Correct.
Is less than what we're spending to buy and maintain?
What's the annual cost to buy and maintain
Yeah.
versus, I mean, a $250,000 lease versus buy and maintain? What's the breakdown
So
per
it
year?
varies based on when they're due for replacement. So, so between now and the 6-year forecast that we did, that $1.76 million that we forecast, that's what it would cost at today's figures.
Where's that 1.7 million number? I see 1.1.
We went out an additional year. We did 5 years, I think, in what was submitted. We went ahead and went out an additional 6th year because the lease program was for 6 years.
Okay, so what's in here is not, the 1.182 is not accurate.
That's for the purchase of just the monitors. That doesn't include defib pads, maintenance, batteries, anything else.
Well, presumably if we lease they maintain, like they,
Correct.
every time anything goes wrong, they're right there to fix it?
That's correct. So we went ahead and did a 6-year forecast, and the 6-year forecast came out to be $1.76 million versus the 1.4, which would be the lease program. So, and that's it, just at today's numbers. We don't know in 3 years what all of this is gonna cost, so.
I just did the 1.76 million divided by 6 years. It gives me $293,333 and some change. So we're talking about a 60,000 less. Suggested reduction in price by leasing rather than buying.
And you,
I mean, that's what I'm getting at. Am I wrong?
Well,
No, that's
I'm
correct.
saying it's not a big difference.
Yeah, over the 6-year period, there would be those savings.
well, the only reason to go from buying to leasing is to save money.
Correct.
I mean, so
Correct.
you wouldn't be bringing this to us unless you thought it was saving
Yes.
significant money.
Yes.
But then also, in theory, they would replace more often. I mean, there's just, you know,
Correct, and they would all be replaced at one time. You would never have potentially different monitors. They would all be replaced at one time. You would get upgraded monitors more
are
regularly.
then we
and
at the, you know, mercy of some big company and there's only a monopoly or whatever? I mean, I don't know how that works.
There are other manufacturers out there, but yeah, what we don't know is what it would look like 7 years down the road.
Would we compete
6
it
years,
out?
we
We
would-
compete it out, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then how much is in 706? If we wanted to cover the first year with 706, do we have enough in there to cover
You
it?
could cover 2
491.
years.
Yeah, cover 2 years.
Okay, all right.
We got
Good to know.
491.
Good to know.
Okay. Okay.
Mayor, just as a little add-on to that, currently, the monitors we own, we use a company called Valley, and they conduct our yearly testing and certifying those monitors. But if there's a defect in that monitor, essentially, they just give it back to us and tell us we're gonna have to ship it back to the manufacturer. And we're down a monitor until it comes back. This, they would give us a monitor right away, they would do the service testing and everything for us. So,
They're always so filled with promises at the beginning. You think they, I mean,
But
that
you
also, you know, that's the way, I mean, that's
no,
just-
you're right.
Sure.
they're like, we're gonna do this and we're
No,
gonna do
you're
that.
right.
And then by year 5 and 6, you know, they're like, we'll get it back to you in 30 days or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not just a fire thing, that's just like a
Sure.
business thing.
Yeah, and especially if you're just talking to a salesperson, it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
but-
promise everything, but
well,
that's why
when
you
we-
get it all in writing.
If we were to
of
go
course.
with the change from purchase to lease, you know, obviously we'd have to do some due diligence on that, but, okay.
Would you mind if I answer one of your questions?
No, that's what you're here for, right?
So next year, we have 11 to be replaced. So a quick on my phone calculator, 11 cardiac monitors at $49,000. Next year, we will pay $539,000 for 11 monitors. So if we buy the lease, we save $300,000 in year 1 on just those 11 monitors that we're not going to buy. So.
Yeah,
When
well,
you look at the whole term of the lease versus the whole $1.76 million buy, I'm calculating, right, it's only like 55,000 total in savings if you're talking dollar to dollar.
Correct, each year.
So we're not talking about any big savings.
But also that they're not taking into what those are gonna cost in 3 years from now.
Concur,
Yeah.
but I don't know what they're gonna cost.
There might be less,
I
could be
mean,
more, probably not less.
I got you. Yeah, you get a price lock, I guess.
Correct.
well, technology's changing fast, so, we, you know, maybe we'll all have computer chips that just do it for us by then. Who knows? Anyhow, okay, well, these, good proposal, we'll check it out. We'll, you know, examine it as we can, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, our next request is for $98,100 to increase KFD's employee uniform allotment by $300 for a total of $800 annually. Our uniform vendor estimates that pricing has increased 30 to 40% since 2020. The uniform allotment for KFD was last increased over 10 years ago when it went from $375 to $500. Synthetic uniforms melt, which can exponentially increase the severity of burns. So our personnel are required to purchase uniforms that are 100% cotton or our fireware, which is basically it's a fire resistant material.
that adheres to NFPA 1975. Currently, $500 is just no longer a sufficient amount to purchase the necessary uniforms for work. Some examples of increases from 20 to 25. Cotton pants have gone from $56 to $74, which is an increase of 31%. Firewear shirts gone from $87 to $112, which is 28%. The pants, which are similar to the ones I'm wearing, have gone from $117 to $170, which is a 46% increase. Boots have gone from $88 to $110 to 25%. And just t-shirts have gone from $11 to almost $19, which is a 63% increase. Just increasing the uniform allotment to $800 reflects the rising costs over the past decade and allows our personnel to maintain a professional appearance.
Okay. You asked for that in the past? I don't remember.
We asked for that
Two
2 years ago.
Okay. Medical director?
Okay, that you confident.
Mayor, our next request is for an additional $12,000 for KFD's medical director. An increase of $12,000 annually from $18,000 to $30,000. His last increase occurred in 2012. Dr. Pat O'Brien has been a partner with the Knoxville Fire Department since August 31st of 1992. He has many responsibilities. He provides oversight to KFD's EMS program. He is the liaison with the county medical director, as well as the local hospitals. He reviews medical charts, develops and refines treatment protocols, advises the city on EMS-related issues. He is our program advisor for our EMT and our advanced EMT program. And he represents KFD in the Region 2 EMS Directors Association and collaborates with the Tennessee EMS office on various initiatives. Recently, he has increased his time commitment by participating in community and pilot programs and spending additional time in the field with the fire crews, as well as additional chart reviews. Since we started carrying narcotics, that increased his chart reviews.
Okay.
He provides medical direction for the new KFD Special Operations Ambulance and the specialized protocols that go with that. With the increased responsibility, risk, liability, KFD feels the increased compensation request is more than justified. And on another note, Dr. O'Brien currently provides his own vehicle, fuel, uniform, and his own malpractice insurance.
Wow. He's basically volunteering, practically, at the moment. Okay, yeah, Dr. O'Brien does a great job. We'll see what the budget allows, but I appreciate the request. And I do really value his work for the city.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready for grant matching funds.
funds.
Yeah.
This one's pretty simple and short. Our next request is for about $25,000 for matching funds required for federal grants. As you know, we recently applied for the Assistance to Firefighters grants for exercise equipment for our firefighters. There's currently funds set aside for the 10% match for this year, but we just need to add the funds for next year.
Did we get the grant?
No,
Or-
not yet, but it's gonna be there just in
Uh-huh,
case.
of
We will
course,
find
yeah.
out anywhere between April and October. They start saying that notifications sometime in April. So if we
What
get it by
department
then.
from the federal government do those go through? You said it's a federal grant?
Yes, yeah.
It's
Through
Homeland Security or-
Homeland
Homeland.
Security, okay. It's
And
part
they
of
say-
Justice Department.
And they say you have to have this in your budget, or just the city has to?
Just the city, yeah, correct, yeah. It's just,
Okay.
if we accept the grant, we've got to come up
We
with
gotta
10%.
come up with a match, yeah.
I think it's currently sitting already in our budget, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay, well, I hope we get it.
me too,
This would be a 10%? Okay.
correct, 10% match.
So you already have this in your budget?
Yes,
Believe it.
correct.
We've asked
It's
for
current
consent.
years.
And is it, if you win the grant, it's a multi-year?
No, it's just a single one.
Oh,
It's just,
okay.
we don't know when the grant will actually be awarded.
Okay, so we just need to make sure that
That it stays.
rolls over if it comes after June 1st, or
Correct.
July 1st. Okay,
Right. That's it.
that's my favorite kind of request. Okay. Okay, EMS?
All right.
EMS internal training. Our next request, Mayor, is for $68,500 to support our EMS training program. The EMS training budget supports comprehensive EMS education and certification across the EMT, advanced EMT, paramedic, and critical care paramedic programs. The funding covers licensing fees, background checks, testing, and essential course material to ensure our personnel remain skilled and compliant with state and national standards. Last year's approval of an increase to the supplement for advanced EMTs and paramedics has generated a positive impact on the number of individuals seeking higher EMS licensure. As such, we have seen an increased cost to provide and pay for training. These funds will allow the department to provide training for 20 advanced EMT students, 4 paramedic students, 2 critical care students, as well as our annual testing site fee.
So is this what you'd need to do in-house paramedic classes? Like without having to go to Rome State or wherever?
Well, not for paramedic.
Yeah,
Oh, but what does it say paramedic times 4 mean?
Well, the paramedic tuition's included for them.
But so it's not, in-house is, it's just meaning current firefighters, not, like the training's not in-house, except for advanced EMT.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the paramedic is, that's just paying for their schooling. The advanced EMT is.
Can we use our
in-house.
tuition reimbursement, like, benefit?
Well, I was gonna ask too, what's the ROI on this? If we're already, we already do some of this already, what's the ROI? And I'm assuming we could do tuition reimbursement for this too, right?
Up to 5,300.
For the paramedics?
For any of it?
Well,
Have you talked with HR about?
For the advanced EMTs, there is no tuition reimbursement. This is just fees associated, this is their books, their licensing fees and things like that. It's about $1,400 per student. So there is no tuition that we're paying out for that. Now for paramedic, that is different. There is
Well,
tuition.
let's talk with
that's paid out.
HR. Let's just talk with HR about
Yeah.
something.
So Mayor,
And possibly cover it through tuition reimbursement.
Let's already think about existing tools.
The 20 advanced EMT students, that's taught in-house. Right now, we have to send folks to Rome State for paramedic training and critical care paramedic.
So just a longer term, maybe we're not ready yet, like, in order to provide paramedic and critical care paramedic in-house training, like we do advanced EMT, what would that take?
So
Is it like a state licensure thing? Or is it just a staffing thing?
So there is staffing needs, there's extra equipment needs, and it's a year-long process too. So we're looking at that right now to see, what is the most effective way to do it? Continue to pay people or to actually do it in-house? And we hope to have those figures this year so we can decide if we want to move forward with that or not.
One thing I would like to add on the tuition reimbursement that gives me a little bit of pause is, for tuition reimbursement, you're required to front the money for that, and then the city reimburses you one time, usually in May or June. So that's a significant amount of money for, some of our folks to have to turn out. So I don't know if there may be some sort of, workaround for that or not, but I'd just like to ask that we keep that in mind when we start looking at that as an option.
Okay, good point. All right, outside training.
Our next request is for an additional $75,000 to support KFD's ongoing training opportunities. And when we ask for this money, it's not just for the cost of the class, it actually covers the class, lodging, meals, transportation, everything involved. Continuing education is necessary across all divisions within KFD, and these funds will allow us to send individuals to specialized training, which can be brought back and taught to the rest of the department. That's one of the things we really try to send people is, okay, if we're going to send you this training, we want you to come back and teach it. We want you to
train the trainer.
We love train the trainers. But many of our personnel also require position-specific training, such as like our fire investigators, some of our inspectors, and so there's things that they are going to have to go do that we need to be able to fund for them to be able to get the certifications and necessary training that's required. So we often have to disapprove requests for training just to make sure that we're not exceeding our budget amounts. And
What's your current budget amount for training?
Julie has this.
Just this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, how much of a change is this?
I think it would be an increase of around, I think we're right around probably a little over 100, correct, total for everything?
It's like 81,000 for the registration fees, a few thousand for hotel rooms. I had no idea
Okay.
what to
So this is basically more than,
apologize.
this might like double it.
It'd be close, it'd be close. And so I think that this would be very beneficial for our individuals, to be able to send them to quality classes that sometimes we can't. Like as a for instance, okay, so it's 81,000 for the registration, 28,000 for lodging, 3,000 for flights, and 10,450 for meals. So right there, you're at 112, 122. So it's a significant increase. But for instances, we've got two individuals. We got an underwater robot that we have that can go get victims, like in the quarry, if we have somebody there or whatever. But if it needs maintenance, we have to ship it to Pottstown, Pennsylvania, to have them repair it. So there's actually a class that we want to send two of our people to, that they learn how to repair the robot. But it's like $2,000 to send them. So that's $4,000 right there. It's a lot of money, but it'll, like as Chief of Staff Brace was saying, the ROI on that long term is going to be beneficial. So there's just a lot of opportunities out there for folks. Then sometimes we have to tell them no, and telling people no when they have a passion for wanting to be better is tough. So if we had some more funding for that and we could send some more people to some training, I think it'd be great.
Okay. Do the people who might like fix the robot, they're like sworn firefighters?
Mm-hmm. So they'll learn to go and actually
They
fix
get
they get certified to actually repair it. Much like we have individuals that are certified by Scott to repair our air packs. We're an in-house repair center for Scott.
Yeah.
So we don't have to farm that out to anyone. So that would be hugely beneficial that we could do it in-house. It would actually keep it in service here more of the time in case it were to be damaged. So.
Okay. CPR battery replacement? Or AED battery replacement? That's next one. Or did I skip one? Recruitment and community outreach, sorry. So I definitely don't want to skip that.
So our next request is for $25,000 for supplies, equipment, and other related expenses to support our recruitment campaign and for also our community outreach programs. We don't currently have a designated budget to support recruitment or community outreach, and our community outreach has grown, especially with our open houses. We do KCDC resource fairs, things like that, and our recruitment has become a necessity over the last several years, which is not something we've had to do. We have to do a lot of advertisements that we've not done before.
How have we paid for it if we haven't done it?
We've just absorbed it into with what we've got operating wise, and now it's just the last 2 to 3 years is when we've really started to do it. And as it's grown and we've done more and more and more, it's started to really impact our ability to do some other things. So.
Well, I thought the recruitment fair we had 2 weeks ago was a huge success, so kudos to all of you for making that so successful. I do think one reason it was successful was because we had HR and civil service and communications. You all work with them as they have expertise in recruitment. They also have a little bit of budget for recruitment. Comms can help with advertising and promotion. So we don't, the fire department isn't supposed to be good at advertising. You are pretty good at it, all things considered, but we have some departments that we're all one big city, and I just want to encourage us to continue to take advantage of that, because we've seen how successful that was at this last recruitment fair. We had over 200 people come. How many applicants? 90?
Approximately 80 actually applied while
I mean,
they were there.
who knows how many will cut the mustard and stick with it, but even if it's like 40, that's a pretty,
And there were several more that said they were going to go home and apply that night instead of just doing it right there. So it was very successful.
Yeah, well, and I mean, my understanding is that comms, HR, civil service, they were there. I know the media was there because Kristen and her team were like, hey, you should be there. And not just the day of, but in advance to tell them. So anyhow.
The civil service was there to actually take applications on site.
Right.
So
and these are new strategies because labor market has changed,
And of course, you can't leave out the service department. They helped bring in
Huge.
stuff and set it up like they always do.
Like
It was a
yeah.
great team effort.
Public service really helps with everything.
Yeah, and the mayor mentioned this earlier with public works, public service, that a lot of the work we did to help build our HR team and really with civil service, those two now are working together. We weren't allowed to do a lot of these things, and so being able to do that is why we can recruit and still have mayor protections, so.
Well, I'd like to add that this whole idea came about because of our recruiting team and their love. So they came to me and I said, okay, we don't have money for a place, so you guys go out and get some pricing and we'll see what we can do. And they pulled it off, and then all the support and the teamwork that we got within the city to help make it happen, it was great. So I'm proud of our team.
Yeah,
I'm also proud of everyone else that was involved as well.
Obviously, the firefighters themselves are the best recruiters to say this is good, this is an important job, this is a job that has meaning and purpose, and here are some of the many different paths. I mean, being a bigger department, you have a lot of different specializations that you can pursue if you want to, so.
Chief of Staff Brace, also to add to where that money came from, Julie would probably smack me later, but we have in the past gotten some donations here and there. We used to get the Hartford grant, but we haven't got it this year. So some of the funding that we used for some of the resource fairs and the recruitment efforts that we've done, we actually lost that funding source, or it didn't happen this year anyway.
Okay. 911.
Battery.
I keep getting one ahead. Battery replacement, sorry.
Battery replacement. And the good news is it's very short.
Okay.
Yeah. Our next request is for an additional $19,000 to fund battery replacement for our cardiac monitors. The batteries for the Zoll X series have a service life of 3 years. This funding allows KFD to replace 1/3 of our battery each year to maintain the 3-year rotation. Funding for this request will be unnecessary should the cardiac monitor AED lead program be approved.
Okay, easy enough, I understand. Now 911 dispatch.
There we go.
I see Brad Anders here.
Brad, sure.
Yep.
This is just our commitment, we get us up to we need to be. Final year.
Well,
Is that right?
That's an ominous, well.
The reality is when we had this conversation about increasing $200,000 a year, one year we skipped, I think we cut it by 50% to help capital along the St. Mary's. And since we've been doing that for 4 or 5 years, our costs have increased as well. So we are spending almost $3 million a year on dispatch services for the city total, fire and police. And so I don't think we're quite there yet, because every time we give a raise, that cost goes up. And our employees are still, our senior employees are probably paid, our dispatchers that have had tenure there are probably paid at market or mid-market or above. Our frontline are still below mid-market, and we're working on that as well. So I assume the number is still 200 this year. We have that. Once we get to that point, we'll figure out what the cost was at the end of this budget year and work on the next one.
Have we always done this through fire? Or is this just fire's portion? This is fire and police?
This is both fire and police.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just, we've always just.
I just didn't know if
It
it
just landed there.
Just landed there, it's
Okay.
kind of, I mean,
That's
obviously,
fine.
you're on
Yeah.
the board, and this is
Yeah.
just where we stuck it in. And
Yeah, and I'm really excited that AMR dispatch is gonna be through our public dispatchers. You know, that'll help, I think, a lot. But as long as we're talking about that, things are better from our perspective. They're not perfect, but they're better on the AMR response time.
Yes, they're certainly better. There's still issues on a regular basis, but compared to the year ago or 2
Just
years ago,
document
it's
them.
much better, yes.
We document the
Yes.
issues and share it with Brad, who can, you know, because we're not, you know, that's a county contract, but I pay my county taxes and I want them to enforce the contract.
Yeah, and we're confident that once 911 takes it over, that's gonna improve the dispatching. We're very confident of that. We have seen some improvements in dispatching already, though.
Yeah, they have more people they got more trucks on the street. The call handling, as far as the new medical director's procedures, are different. We're not going to as many calls that we went to before. There's a lot of changes that have been made over the last 12 months, and hopefully in the next few months, we'll begin that process of taking over. We're still training their employees to take over. And so all the people in that building will be our employees, and it'll be much easier to deal with and manage and get the documentation we need.
Okay. All right, I don't have any more questions on that. Thank you, Brad. Director Anders. All right.
All right, now personnel, our next request is for firefighter salary increases. As you know, you approved and agreed to do a focused pay study for KFD like was done for KPD. That study is still currently underway. It's not completed. We do expect it to be done in the next few weeks by the end of this month, and at that point we'll know what the actual figures are.
Okay. Well, just for our association members who are here, I mean, we're waiting to see those results, and they will be given to us in time for us to consider it as part of this next budget. I don't know what it says yet. You know, we're still waiting here, so, but we'll have time to evaluate it and respond accordingly, so.
Ms. Pardue had said, hopefully the end of this week, we'll start to get some, maybe the following week, so it's close. So, and Boyce is aware that we've got a placeholder in there, and just wait and see where the numbers fall.
I don't want Larry to have any more sleepless nights, yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next request is for $1.5 million to cover overtime expenses. Overtime is required for a variety of things. When we do special events, for recruit training, for ongoing training, but by far most of the overtime comes from just backfill to maintain minimum daily staffing levels at the fire stations. So whenever anybody is off for vacation, sick, military duty, FMLA, parental leave, or when they're injured on the job and not able to work, we have to backfill for them. We've taken a lot of steps to try to minimize overtime. We do as much training as we can while on duty, so we don't have to pay overtime. We have an online training program so that a lot of that can be done at the fire station. It's called Target Solutions.
What's your current, what's your?
Our current budget, 1.8 million.
1.8 million, and this is, you want 1.8
Yes.
plus 1.5?
Yes.
Chief, we had talked about the concept of adding, running the numbers, adding head count, but having, so you maybe add a fourth to an engine company and float them when you've got somebody off. So instead of spending $2 or $3 or $4 million on overtime, you actually add some head count. Have you started to look at that?
Yes, and that's what we're going to try to do with this study too. Yeah, we've looked at that, and you can increase, exactly where the break-even point is. I don't know, but yes, if you get more people out there, I mean, we do. If we have a fourth person on a company, then they float over until there are no more companies with a fourth person.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if you've got $1.5 million in regular overtime. I know that not all of that is some of that's special events, but
right.
If you increase, some of your companies love to have 4 all the time for NFPA.
Sure.
And ISO. So anyway, just something to think about.
It would offset that. I mean,
$3.3 million in overtime,
right.
if you combine. It's a
huge amount of money.
That's a lot of money, and also, I mean, how many permanent positions would that cover? A lot.
Do you know how much overtime you use maybe in FY '24?
Yeah, last year was 3.3 million.
Yeah, that's where.
So we're way over budget.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
where this figure came
That's
from.
why we're asking, because we're 3.3 million last year.
When we send people to mutual aid calls, is that on overtime, and does TEMA pay us back?
Well,
Like last night, I went out to Tellico Plains.
those were actually on duty. They were on duty, so they were just sent, and there is no overtime for that. When these long-term ones, yes, we pay overtime, and then we get reimbursed for that, as long as it's emergency
Sanctioned.
management, yeah.
Like TEMA asks.
Yes.
Mhm.
If it's just, a neighboring county, hey, can you send something over for a few hours, that's not reimbursable. But most of the time, that is people that are on duty, not all the time. But yeah, we always seek reimbursement.
So what is all this
when we can.
overtime from? You said it's mostly like people on leave,
Yes.
covering,
Yeah,
just
if
coverage
we're-
for people on leave.
Yeah, if we're down firefighters out in the firefighting division, then that's when it goes up. Now, that the salaries that aren't being paid, somewhat offsets that. So, if you're down
Oh, like if
positions,
you're
you're gonna have more
military,
overtime.
but if you're on, paid parental leave, we're paying you, and we're paying someone to substitute for you.
Potentially to cover for you.
I mean, that's what it almost always is, it sounds like, or, I guess.
And correct me if I'm
If someone's on sick leave, or well, sometimes it's unpaid, but a lot of times it's paid.
Correct, yes. It's really the backfill when someone's off. It's paying someone to cover their slot if we're at our minimum staff, which is 3 per truck.
Yeah, we have a minimum number of people, so if somebody takes a holiday, vacation day, somebody works overtime to keep 3 on the truck. So I think the concept is, do you put 4 on a bunch of trucks, and then when somebody's off, and you go from 4 to 3, and that person goes to float to keep 3 at a minimum. So the minimum is 3. I mean, depending on the
Correct, yeah.
Okay, well,
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, in FY '24, last FY's numbers, that was the time when you had enough people out, or for whatever reasons, you're having to do a lot of mandatory overtime, right? You're not having to do that as much now, right?
Not as much now. We had to do that some back in the fall, but not as much now. And we did just get, we graduated a recruit class, but only, I think, 5 or 6 of them are actually out on companies. We'll have another 9 that will be going out as soon as they finish EMT class. So that helps with, and all of them are going out into the firefighting.
and you're planning the next academy for,
October, starting in October.
do you think you should do more than one academy a year?
What do you guys think? Yeah.
Potentially, yeah, that's just,
I mean,
we probably need some additional training staff, and we might just have to put some out there temporarily. I mean, we have to do that now for a recruit class. We have to put people out there just temporarily. But yeah,
well, how many
we'll-
weeks is the academy?
I'm sorry, 18 weeks.
18 weeks, and then
18
if they don't have their EMT.
And
to
the
get-
EMT, then it's another 12 weeks, 12 to 14 weeks. And that's why we try to, it used to, it was just like everybody everybody's out there for 30, 32 weeks. It's like, yeah, this is a waste of resources. So we get everybody just through all the firefighting portion, extrication, all that, and then get them out on companies.
Because there's some who already have, they
Some that
came
already
from
have
rural
it, and they
metro
don't
or
need to sit,
whatever.
right.
We used to make them sit through extra training they didn't need. Yeah, that seems.
It was,
When I
well,
came
they used them for other things too.
When I
They
came-
might use them for.
Like I had to do hose testing and ladder testing
and
while
stuff
everybody was
like
in
that.
EMT school. So we did our EMT school first, and we did all that stuff. And then after they got out of EMT school, then we all went through the fire portion together.
I see.
Yeah, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
We didn't like that, so we ended up changing that. So.
Okay, well, if there are other changes you think that could help us be,
More.
get more people out in the companies in a timely manner, or just replace people. I don't know, I think this is an interesting thing. It's come up before, add staff or pay gobs of overtime. Seems like we're tilting too far towards overtime. I mean, I know some people like to earn the money, but it's gonna wear them out too.
Bless you.
Are people complaining about too much overtime? Not complaining, like expressing
yeah.
concerns?
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, some people will.
Some are, and some love it, yeah.
There's a rotating list, right? And you just run through the list. I think we've got to do an overtime analysis, because, I mean, 3.3 million, you get to hire about 40 firefighters.
And what would that save us in overtime?
Yeah, I mean, the 3.3 is above and beyond, but even just your minimum covered overtime budget, you could add headcount. Again, you just got to run the ROI on it, because it's probably safer for people too. People running 72-hour shifts, that's probably not super healthy, so.
Okay. EMS licensure upgrade expenses.
So the next request is for funding to cover the licensure upgrades for the first responder supplement for advanced EMT and paramedic. Last year, Mayor, you and City Council approved an increase to the first responder supplement to incentivize our firefighters to upgrade their EMS licensure to either AEMT or paramedic. We'd have to say the supplement increase has been extremely successful over the last year. We've had several people take advantage of it. We've had 17 personnel earn their advanced EMT, and 2 have earned their paramedic. So there is a cost to these upgrades. It's not reflected in our current budget. The recurring cost for those 17 EMTs and 2 paramedics is $55,250 a year. We also have 4 additional employees who will be testing for advanced EMT soon. And if they get their licensure, that would be an additional $11,000 of recurring expenses. So to forecast for the next fiscal year, we've already have 20-plus individuals that want to go to AEMT school next year, or this year. However, we're limited to, we can only have a class of 20. We're not allowed to have any more, so we actually have more than 20 that want to, we just can't get them all in.
I don't understand, basically just to hold on to this license, even after you've received the training, you have to, we, the department, have to pay.
No, ma'am, this is for the increase where we went from $2,250 to $3,600.
Oh, this is for the stipend?
Yes.
Yes, so there was an
Oh,
increase for the
more people are
stipend.
accepting it than we budgeted for.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct, so.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
So
that
people
is-
that are going
That's what we
from,
wanted.
people going from
Yeah.
the basic to advanced, that's $2,750 more a year that we have to pay them. And that's every
Great.
year, so we've
Okay.
got a budget for that. And so this coming year, or this current year, we have 20 individuals that we know want to go to AMT, and we have 4 that want to go to paramedic school. So that's an additional $72,000 that will be incurred
Okay, so this is
over our
a
budget. So it's
EMS,
basically-
this is like an EMS stipend
It's,
expenses.
it's
like
covering the stipend increases, yes, ma'am.
Licensure upgrade.
It's
I mean,
because they're upgrading their license from basic to advanced or advanced to paramedic.
I understand now.
You're saying right now the budget covers 20 individuals.
What's that, ma'am?
You're saying right now that budget that we currently have covers 20.
The answer is
And then
no.
Next year. And you want to increase that number to 40, an additional 20.
The answer is no. We did not budget for them. So last year, the fire department asked the mayor to increase it.
Mm-hmm.
She said yes, but no money was put into it to fund the yes.
We didn't know how many people were.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
We,
Now
we
we
didn't
do.
have a
Now we
number.
know.
So after the yes came, now 20 people have advanced, and now we have to fund the yes.
And we anticipate 20 plus 2 in the.
I can't imagine we didn't put any money in, like, but we can, you know, this is why, we can look that up.
I think we funded what was already there, the licensures that were already, that people already had.
But not,
There was like a $440,000 ask last year, if I'm not mistaken, that covered people's current licensure. But since the budget was approved, people have increased their licensure. So unless there was a budget amendment to cover that increase after the budget was approved, then I don't know that money's there.
Well, we'll sort that out between finance and fire
Yes, ma'am.
before we, go any further.
Yes, ma'am.
But we don't need to delve into, that's something I'll just take a minute to look up and confirm. Stipend for specialty teams.
Speaking of stipends, this request is to provide $1,200 stipend to each member of KFD specialty teams. KFD has multiple specialty teams that require extensive time, training, dedication, and increased risk. Team members would only qualify for one stipend regardless of how many teams they serve on. This funding would support 110 members. We are currently at 107. The specialty teams covered would be our wildland firefighting team, our technical rescue team, our medical specialist team, our hazmat specialist, our incident management team, and our honor guard.
What's a medical specialist versus like paramedic, advanced EMT? What does that mean?
So, these are folks that went and got their critical care certification.
That's like above paramedic?
Yeah, it's above, and there's no extra pay for that.
and they're able to do more things than even a paramedic can do, and we try to tag them in with our other specialty teams, so if there's any injuries or anything, then they can actually do more than just even a regular paramedic can do. And there are just a limited number of those.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Firefighters. Oh, okay. Just more people.
So, yeah. we'll-
Look how much cheaper that is than the overtime. Maybe, you know how you said if we went through the lease, that we wouldn't need those batteries? If we go for this, we wouldn't need so much overtime.
That is correct.
Is that, did you, yeah?
So what our request is to add 18 additional personnel over a 3-year period. So that's 6 people per year. Some of those could go on specialty equipment. Some of them we would also like to use in Some of our administrative staff, we could definitely use an additional one in EMS because of all the extra EMS we're doing, EMS training and all that, and we could use another one actually just in our training division. But the rest
Or
of
we
them
could
would-
use these to go from 3 to 4 in certain
Yes,
stations.
the rest of them would go out into the firefighting division. Yes, ma'am.
We need the strategic plan.
Yes. And this is
Because,
one of
I
the
mean,
things
these are
we want
long-
them to look at
Yeah.
and to say, if we add these additional staff, what does it do?
Well, that was approved last night, so
Yes.
get with purchasing to, get that
We're already
rolling.
moving forward with that.
There's a draft RFP that James McKeon sent to us yesterday.
Oh, good. That's great, and I don't know how long that'll take, but I wish it were already here, But anyhow. Okay, grant manager?
All right. So KFD is asking to increase our civilian numbers from 10 to 11 by adding the position of grant manager. We need a qualified individual to seek out, apply for, and manage grants for the fire department. There are several grant application opportunities on a local, state, and federal level. Some examples would be the Hartford Grant, the Assistance to Firefighter Grant, SAFER Grant, Homeland Security Grant, and the Port Security Grant. KFD staffing does not provide for an individual who can fully take advantage of the opportunities available to fire departments. And now that we have a special operations ambulance, this opens the door for additional grant opportunities. An example would be the Essential Equipment for Licensed Ambulance Services grant that we just received, which was for almost $100,000. So
So it
basically,
seems like
our
this person would
grant
pay
team
for
is-
themselves.
Yeah, our
pretty
grant
fast.
team is made up of a few people that are just taking time away from their primary duties to try and do this.
Who is who does that?
Basically, it's Julie and Master Firefighter Andy Link are the main players in that. I do think they have a little bit of help here and there, but.
It's not uncommon for firefighters to have side jobs, and Andy Link does write grants as a side job for other agencies. So he works on some of ours for us when he can.
But he's pretty invaluable in his EMS role.
Yes.
And we don't take him away from that, so.
Okay.
But
Okay,
That's all.
well, good request. Thank you for the presentation, and appreciate all the hard work you guys do every day. And we will see how things unfold as far as, the salary study and everything else.
So the
All right.
list we gave last.
All right, Colin, I got to see you at lunch at the Steamboat.
That's right.
Colin
It's my
won
favorite.
a couple years ago, Customer of the Year.
Oh.
He was their
That's
most
why
loyal
we
customer.
saw
It's
this
a-
huge picture.
It was like
It's a major award.
Yeah, it was
It
what?
is a major award.
A major award. No one else has their picture there. They have a lot of cool historic pictures of
You're using your influence unduly, calling it a sandwich shop.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at first I wasn't even sure they'd accept my purchase card, but yeah, no.
You are on CTV.
That's very funny.
All right, thank you for being here, and I'm ready to hear your request.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. We've got a couple of requests, I promise I'll be brief. So we're requesting funding for 2 additional staff positions as well as emergency response pay for our staff. We currently have a total emergency management staff of 5, and we're requesting a new staff position focused on emergency planning. That's central to our mission. It's at the very heart of what we do, and emergency planning is time consuming, it's labor intensive, and it involves close collaboration with our many supporting partners and emergency or first responder agencies to clearly define the roles and responsibilities, detailing priorities, objectives, and the tasks to respond to all the various types of emergencies. We're getting to a good place with a strong updated emergency operations plan, and we're putting a bow on our continuity of operations planning project. So now we're in a good position where
I'm really excited about that, by the way. Good, yeah.
I'm not the only one excited about that. Thank you. But we're getting to a position where we need to continue our forward progress on emergency planning, but we also now have good, strong plans that frankly require pretty good time commitment from us to be able to maintain and keep them updated and not let them get to the position where we were in a few years ago, where they were kind of needing a complete rewrite and overhaul. So we're asking for some help with that. We'd also like to add a public affairs manager or public information officer. We're still working on the best title for that position, but They'd be focused on sharing information from the Emergency Operations Center, coordinating public messaging with city and county communication staff, as well as sharing information with social media and traditional media before and during emergencies. We've heard the feedback from leadership about how important this is, and we've taken steps to improve our efforts here. But again, it's a capacity issue, and we're robbing Peter to pay Paul with our current efforts. So I know you've heard this before, but we remain last in the state in per capita emergency management staffing, and we're also last among our 19 nearest similar sized peer jurisdictions in the southeast U.S. when it comes to emergency management. So we'd like to continue to move forward towards an emergency management staff size that would be appropriate for our jurisdiction. Lastly, we'd like to request $7,250 for emergency response pay for our staff. What we're proposing with input from Grant, Chad, HR, is to pay our staff members time and a half when they're working in the EOC or responding to the scenes of emergencies after hours, weekends, or holidays in excess of their full work week hours. So this would not apply to the director, the deputy director, or our executive assistant. Our assistant Diane's already paid overtime, but our other staff members sometimes work long additional hours and are not eligible for overtime, and I want to be fair to them. I think maybe the biggest example of this was during the winter storm we had January of last year. That was holiday weekend. All of our staff members worked over the weekend to prepare for the winter storm, and then Monday morning we stood up the Emergency Operations Center, and none of our staff members left the building for in less than 30 hours. We all were there for 30 hours, and then of course ongoing for about the next week and a half for that winter storm. And again, I think it's fair to ask that of the director and deputy director, but I think some of our staff members lower on the org chart should, even though they're not eligible for overtime, should be compensated for their efforts. So $7,250 is our best estimate for what that would be typical for a year. Of course, that might vary a little bit depending on how many emergencies we have. Less is better, but as with all of our requests, we're assuming that if these are approved, the costs would be split equally between the city and county. And I appreciate
that was my first question. Like all of these, the request is 50% of this.
Yes, ma'am. Those numbers represent the total cost, and we have made the same request of the county. And like I said, presume if they're approved, they'd be split.
Do they have budget hearings?
Not the same.
Not like this.
Not the same way.
Okay.
But he submits these. Boyce and I have a conversation with Caldwell about what the city and the county are comfortable with.
Have you talked to the county yet?
Yes, and
How is it received?
they feel free to jump in. We've sat down with Dwight and made again we submitted these same requests to them. They do sound supportive of additional staffing for our for emergency management, but as with I'm sure the city too, that bumps up against with budgetary considerations.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation.
Okay.
I mean, Dwight and I meet Colin pretty regularly, and this is something we're generally supportive of. Obviously, though, with we need to consider the our budget.
Are these opioid responses, Myrna? I'm just sort of kidding.
The frequency of us activating the EOC is increasing and sometimes in a good way. We want to activate it a little more often as an exercise for training. For Chief Noel, he's not here, but if you ask him, he would say he really wants to activate it more often, just as a training opportunity for his team.
Yeah.
Again, some of these requests reflect a little bit of that as well.
Climate change. We're going to have more intense and frequent storms. We're going to activate that thing every.
And we're already seeing we are activating the EOC more. We're when we look at a number of federally declared disasters that affects our community, it's going up. So we're following national trends with all that.
Yeah, and the new facility, new EOC, everything's working well.
It's great. Yeah, we very much appreciate the new facility. It's just what we need, frankly.
Good.
Yeah, and the new command vehicle too is working out very well. So we appreciate that very much.
Great.
When you said these folks weren't eligible for overtime,
They're help me get the terminology.
The way they're classed.
They're not Fair Labor Standards Act.
Right.
Yeah. Or Are there?
No, this is a legit,
There
this
is.
is a relatively small amount of money to make sure that folks that are at that mid-level get what they need to get compensated. This is something that they've been working on. It's a small number, but it's an important number from, we're working a lot.
Would these new positions be eligible for that or not eligible?
I would envision, yes.
so.
I think any existing as well as new ones, it should not apply to the director or deputy director. Our executive assistant is paid overtime. And this should apply to the rest that are not eligible for overtime, but ought to be compensated in some way.
I know you said we're last in the state in staffing per capita,
Mhm.
but then you said something about the southeast?
Oh, yeah, well, I feel like I feel like a broken record.
Did you bring the sheet again?
Of course I brought that every time.
All right, just wanted to-
I usually keep like a
sheet.
Yeah.
I usually keep a couple
Looking
extra
at it
like
for
in
a
my pocket
decade.
at all times, but you want to see
Hey,
this?
let me say this, it's been working, the mayor, we've increased headcount.
It has been working. So these are the 19, these are the 19 jurisdictions most similar in size to us in the southeast US. And you made a point out where,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's highlighted in yellow.
Okay.
for your convenience.
Thank you, Colin. Appreciate you and your staff, and hopefully we can make some progress here.
I appreciate the
They do a
consideration.
great job.
Thank you.
They really do a
amazing.
great job
Amazing.
with the limited staff, limited number of staff members. That's again, let's take care of the staff we have. They have a great team. Take care of them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We do have a great team, and I will always promise that we punch above our weight, but
But you'd like to
we're,
get some more
we're,
help.
we're limited in our capacity. Five can't do the work of 10 when push comes to shove.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
We start at 9.